Chapter 28:19. Late at night, outside the Devil's Sun Great Hall, Ling Xiao, who had been cultivating for a long time, came out to take a breather. He was a person who cared about the balance between work and rest. Although he was anxious to increase his strength, he wouldn't forcefully tire himself to death. "Who is it?" Ling Xiao, who was taking a stroll, suddenly saw a sneaky figure flash by outside the Devil's Sun Great Hall. Although he considered the possibility that it was bait, he still chased after it. Someone who dared to sneak into the Devil's Sun Great Hall most likely wanted to harm him or the people in the Devil's Sun Great Hall. He definitely couldn't ignore it. Using the demonic dragon phantom movement technique, he caught up to the figure in a short while. "Brother Ling, it's me." "Tuoba Yunxiang." Ling Xiao frowned, feeling somewhat puzzled. Tuoba Yunxiang had come to the Devil's Sun Great Hall late at night, so there must be something important. Long story short, someone wants to harm Dark Knight Formless. Be careful. Although Tuoba Yunxiang didn't participate in that secret meeting, this didn't prevent him from knowing the contents of the meeting through some channels. After all, he was Tyrannical Saber Ghost, Li's disciple, and even those branch masters had to be respectful to him. Of course, the information he received wasn't detailed, and only knew that someone wanted to harm Dark Knight Formless. As for the specifics, he didn't know. Saying this, he turned and left. Ling Xiao didn't stop him. Although he was puzzled as to how Dark Knight Formless could be harmed in the Devil's Sun Great Hall, since Tuoba Yunxiang took the risk to inform him, then it must be true. Thinking this, he couldn't help but reveal a cold smile. Although Tuoba Yunxiang didn't say it clearly, this matter definitely has something to do with Phoenix in the cloud. "I once swore that whoever dares to harm my loved ones, I'll let them die. I'm temporarily not a match for Phoenix in the cloud, but Yunlan and the First Sect Elder don't think about living." Thinking this, he immediately used soul power to contact Xiao Jin. "Keep an eye on anyone near the Mountain Master. Even if it's our own people, don't underestimate them." "Yes, boss." Xiao Jin didn't ask why. Since Ling Xiao ordered this, he naturally had his reasons, and he just had to do it. After informing Xiao Jin, Ling Xiao was slightly relieved. He believed that the person who could make a move against Yi Hei Wuxing in the Devil's Sun Hall was definitely one of his own people. It must be one of Chen Bai's adopted sons and daughters. From the looks of it, Yun Zhongfeng had already planted a mole. "Humph. I'll make you lose both your spy and your soldiers this time. Let your years of planning go to waste." Thinking of this, he turned around and returned to the Devil Air Hall. Although Xiao Jin was around, he still couldn't be completely at ease. Although Xiao Jin could protect Dark Knight Formless, there were several spies in Phoenix in the cloud. As for who they were, Xiao Jin couldn't determine. How could a spy be allowed to sleep peacefully beside the bed? This time he had to uncover all the spies in Phoenix in the cloud. The Devil Child's Great Hall was very big. Formless liked peace and quiet at night, so he chose to stay in the innermost courtyard. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged and cultivating. Although his talent wasn't as good as Ling Xiao's, he didn't want to be a burden to Ling Xiao. If he had the chance, he naturally wanted to raise his cultivation as much as possible. Fortunately, the cultivation conditions here were much better than at 8 Immortal Mountain, and he wasn't weak to begin with. Now he had already recovered to the peak of the 8th level of hell. However, this cultivation was definitely at the bottom of the dragon cult. If someone really wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to stop them. Therefore, he had to work even harder. Xiao Jin stood on a nearby tree, vigilantly observing the situation around him. After receiving Ling Xiao's notification, he didn't dare to be negligent. Not long after, a dozen people led by Chen Wan walked over. They were all Chen Bai's adopted sons and daughters. They were worried that Phoenix in the Cloud and the others would secretly kill them, so they stayed in the Devil Air Hall. However, they actually came together today, so he didn't know why. Xiao Jin faintly felt a trace of worry in his heart. If 1 or 2 people came, he could still keep an eye on them. However, if a dozen people came at the same time, how could he determine who was a spy from Phoenix in the cloud? Just as he was thinking, Dark Knight Formless opened his eyes and looked at everyone. Senior Dark Knight, we were bored, so we specially prepared some food and wine. You've been cultivating hard, so why don't we rest together and talk about the problems in your cultivation? We can help you solve your doubts. Chun Wan said with a smile. Because Ling Xiao had given them this shelter, they were safe and sound. So, according to common sense, it was only right for them to thank Dark Knight Formless. There was no problem with this reason. Sure. Dark Knight Formless didn't know what danger there was and felt that it was a kind gesture. So he nodded and accepted. On the other hand, Xiao Jin was getting more and more worried. In order to find the spy as quickly as possible, he purposely flew onto Dark Knight Formless' shoulder. This way, no matter who made a move, he would be able to stop them immediately. The food and wine were quickly served, and everyone sat down. Chun Wan was the first to raise his glass and clinked it with Dark Knight Formless. This made Xiao Jin pay special attention to him. However, at this moment, a small knife about an inch long appeared in the hand of the person closest to Dark Knight Formless. There was a faint cold light on the small knife, as if it was smeared with something poisonous. The small knife stabbed towards Dark Knight Formless. That person's eyes flashed with excitement. As long as this mission was completed, he could get rid of his identity as a spy and officially become a sect elder. This was Vice Sect Leader Yun's promise to him. When that time came, he would have everything he wanted. He wouldn't have to act like a grandson anymore. However, just as the tip of the knife was about to touch Dark Knight Formless, a terrifying wave of heat rushed towards him. His body flew out uncontrollably and landed heavily on the ground. The small knife also fell to the ground, still flashing with a faint cold light. Chin Pai, what are you doing? Chun Wan looked at the knife in shock and instantly understood what was going on. What am I doing? Killing that trash. Chun Pai wiped the blood at the corners of his mouth and said coldly, You bunch of fools still don't understand? Chun Bai is already finished. Following Vice Sect Leader Yin is the right path. Right now, Vice Sect Leader Yin gave me the order to kill that trash. As long as I kill him, I can get whatever I want. Bastard, I'll kill you. Chun Wan walked over and grabbed that person's neck. Well, at this time, Xiao Jin also stared fixedly at this person, wanting to turn this guy into ashes. You dare to kill me? I'm Vice Sect Leader Yun's person. If you kill me, even Chen Bai won't be able to protect you. That person looked at Chun Wan arrogantly and said coldly, You guys have always been a bunch of cowards. Do you really think that I don't understand? Following you bunch of cowards, I've pretended to be a grandson for a very long time. I've long been very unhappy. Since you're unhappy, then go to hell. Chapter 28:20. No. Xiao Jin was celebrating after killing Chin Pai when he suddenly heard Chin Yan's cry. He turned around and saw another person aiming a palm at Dark Knight Formless' back. This person's palm was surrounded by a terrifying black aura. There was no way Dark Knight Formless could block it. I was careless. I didn't expect there to be two spies. Xiao Jin was shocked. However, it was already too late for him to save Dark Knight Formless. It was simply too late. At the critical moment, a hand reached out from the void and grabbed the hand that was emitting the terrifying black gas. Then, a person stepped out from the darkness and looked coldly at the spy in front of him. You attacked my benefactor. Are you ready to atone for your sins? The person was Ling Xiao. He had been hiding in the dark with the Nether Demon Dragon. He was afraid that there was more than one spy. As soon as the spy made a move, he stepped in to stop him. A cold voice came from his mouth, and the air seemed to freeze. Ling Xiao, why are you here? The spy looked at Ling Xiao in horror. He felt a sense of fear and coldness that he had never felt before. Boss, this is great. Seeing Ling Xiao appear, Xiao Jin was relieved. If the other party's sneak attack had succeeded, he would have felt guilty for the rest of his life. Dark Night, formless, also let out a long breath. He had just woken up and still had many things to do. It would be a pity if he died so carelessly. At this moment, he felt that his whole body was soaked in sweat. However, the feeling of narrowly escaping death still made him very excited. Now he was even more impressed with his choice back then. He had offended many people at 8 Immortals Mountain in order to protect Ling Xiao. Today, Ling Xiao did not disappoint him. He believed that as long as Ling Xiao was here, no one could hurt him. Spare me, I was forced to do it." The spy was choked by Ling Xiao. The feeling of suffocation made him extremely afraid. "Spare you? If I hadn't received this news in advance, I'm afraid I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. If you don't die, the heavens will not tolerate it. But before you die, there are some things I must know." The reason why Ling Xiao didn't kill him directly was because he wanted to know more about the truth behind the scenes. I'll tell you everything. Just let me go," cried the man in terror. "There's no need for that. I'll look for it myself. Soul Catcher." A demonic light shot out from Ling Xiao's right eye and entered the spy soul realm. Moments later, Ling Xiao exerted force with his right hand and broke the spy's neck. Then, the spy's body turned into ashes. "It really is that bastard phoenix in the cloud." Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. Everything was clear now. These two spies were arranged by Phoenix in the Cloud to stay by Chen Bai's side in the early years. They were going to be used as a trump card. Their main purpose was to target Chen Bai. "Little Jean, I'll leave this matter to you. I have something to do." Ling Xiao looked at Phoenix in the Cloud's mansion. He didn't like to be passive and take a beating. Moreover, the other party had already made their move. Why should he be merciful? With his current strength, there was no one in the entire dragon cult that could kill him. What was there to be afraid of? He wanted to kill the first elder and Yunlan in front of Phoenix in the Cloud. He wanted to let that old dog know the consequences of offending him. Ling Xiao. "Boss, I'll go with you. That old dog Phoenix in the Cloud is not weak." Little Jean hurriedly said, "I think I understand what's going on. Ling Xiao, if you trust me, leave this matter to me. Let little Jean go with you." Chen Wan finally recovered from her shock. Although she still couldn't accept the fact that her sworn brother was a spy, the scene just now was clearly in front of her. She had to accept it. "Thank you." Ling Xiao was sure that there were only two spies. He trusted Chen Wan enough. Therefore, he nodded and left with little Jean. However, before leaving, Ling Xiao left behind his most powerful Heavenly Thunder Divine Guard for the sake of security. Chen Wan could be trusted, but it didn't mean that others could be trusted. It was better to be safe than sorry. "Phoenix in the Cloud, you old dog, get out here!" In the middle of the night, a thunderous roar was suddenly heard. The entire demonic dragon city was in an uproar. Who is so bold to break into the vice leader's mansion in the middle of the night and insult vice leader Yin? Why does it sound like Ling Xiao's voice? Damn, there's a good show. Get up and go watch. Everyone had a curious heart. Ling Xiao's roar was deliberately heard by everyone. Although some people didn't dare to join in the fun because they were afraid of Phoenix in the Cloud, there were still many people who came in the middle of the night. Everyone was holding a small, glowing Dharma treasure in their hands. The entire outside of the Vice sect leader's residence was illuminated. Phoenix in the Cloud, the first elder, Yunlan, and the elders and guardians of the dragon cult had all arrived. "Brat, are you crazy? Do you know what crime it is to break into the Vice leader's mansion in the middle of the night and insult the Vice leader?" The first elder asked loudly. "Old dog, you should know very well why I'm here. Old dog, I've already killed the two spies you sent to ambush the sect leader. To be honest, I can tolerate you doing other things, such as suppressing me or framing me. However, assassinating my benefactor and family is a taboo. Today, we will fight to the death." Ling Xiao roared. "I don't know what nonsense you're talking about, but if you continue to behave atrociously here, don't blame me for being rude." Phoenix in the Cloud's face was very ugly. He didn't expect that the 2 spies he had carefully trained would be killed by Ling Xiao. They were gone just like that. Was his hard work going to be in vain? Old dog, you dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it? Fine, if that's the case, I'll beat you until you admit it. Ling Xiao didn't want to fall out with Phoenix in the cloud so soon. After all, Chunbai had his own plans. However, he couldn't tolerate what happened tonight. Everyone had their own taboo, and Ling Xiao's taboo was his family, friends, and benefactors. He would not let anyone who dared to hurt them go. How dare you? I think you've lost your mind. Phoenix in the cloud was really angry. Since Ling Xiao had come to him today, he might as well use this opportunity to kill Ling Xiao. This way, Chunbai wouldn't be able to find any reason to protect him. Master, do I need you to kill him? Just give me a chance. Yunlan stepped forward. It seemed that his injuries had healed. Not only that, but his strength had also returned to its peak. Chapter 28-21. Yunlan wished he could skin Ling Xiao alive. Unfortunately, he never had the chance to do so. Tonight was the best stage for him to do so. All right, remember to be ruthless. Don't show any mercy. If anything happens, I'll take care of it for you. Phoenix in the cloud glanced at Yunlan and nodded. From time to time, whispers could be heard from the crowd. They were all talking about Ling Xiao's audacity to barge into the Vice sect master's residence at night. Ling Xiao only achieved some insignificant results. He only got first place in the Demonic Sea Secret Realm trial. How dare he be so arrogant? Does he really think that Vice Sect Master Yin is easy to bully? He doesn't know that in the eyes of others, he's just a moth flying into a flame. He's digging his own grave. The person who spoke deliberately raised his voice, as if he was afraid that Ling Xiao could not hear him. After all, this was Vice Sect Master Yun's residence. He did not believe that Ling Xiao would dare to attack him here. Moreover, he was not weak. Although he did not belong to the dragon cult, he had a good relationship with Vice Sect Master Yun and Yunlan. With their help, his cultivation had reached the early stage of the Yin-Yang realm's 12th level of hell. Although he was a little old and was already 100 years old when he reincarnated. So what? He was not a genius. It was fine as long as he was stronger than those geniuses. He liked to destroy geniuses. Therefore, there were people in the pugilistic world who called him the nemesis of geniuses. Well said. Not to mention Vice Sect Master Yin. Even Yunlan is the #1 genius of the dragon cult. His cultivation is even stronger than Chen Songxiong, who is known as the #1 genius of the Qin nation. Chen Songxiong is only considered more talented because he is younger than Yunlan. Moreover, Yunlan's actual identity is from the Xingjian clan, one of the Qin nation's 8 great clans. Since he's willing to turn over a new leaf and submit to the dragon cult, we should cherish him and support him. Regarding this point, Ling Xiao had never heard of it. Yunlan was actually a martial artist from the Xingjian clan, which was ranked second among the Qin nation's 8 great clans. Her status was second only to the royal clan. What kind of bullshit genius is Yunlan? Although I don't like the 8 great families of the state of Qin, Yunlan clearly left home in anger because he lost to Chen Songxiong and was taken in by Phoenix in the cloud. Speaking of geniuses, Ling Xiao was the true genius. According to the rumors, not only had he defeated Chen Songxiong, he'd even killed the Lightning Seigneur and injured Elder Kong. Only such a hero was worthy of the position of the vice leader of the dragon cult. Just now he was called a genius. How could Yunlan compare to him? What's more, I also understood what happened just now. Vice sect leader Yun and Yunlan actually tried to assassinate someone's family. Such a despicable and shameless act is really a disgrace to the dragon cult. It's true that the dragon cult is an evil cult, but such despicable acts are equally despicable. The person who spoke was actually a middle-aged man in his 30s. His strength was far inferior to that genius nemesis. The reason why he dared to speak like this was because he worshipped Ling Xiao. Secondly, it was because he believed in Ling Xiao. These days, Ling Xiao's name had never stopped ringing in his ears. Whether it was causing havoc in the Thunder Capital or killing the Lightning Seigneur, any of his deeds were admirable. It was also because of this that Ling Xiao had gradually become the idol of many young practitioners in the state of Qin who hated the royal family. They worshipped him, revered him, saw him as a role model, and wanted to follow in his footsteps. They wanted to become a young hero, like him, who could support the heavens. Although the man was slightly older, he was only in his early 30s. After more than 30 years, he'd actually been awakened by the deeds of this kid Ling Xiao. His worship of Ling Xiao was even greater than the others. "Stinking brat, who do you think you are? How dare you talk back to this old man?" The genius Nemesis roared angrily at the young man. "What does Ling Xiao have to compare with Yun Lan? Ever since Yun Lan joined the dragon cult, she was number one. Now, she's still the strongest genius of the dragon cult. Ling Xiao only won the trial of the devil dragon's secret realm by luck. Does he really think he's that great? There were plenty of people who were stronger than him. Moreover, since he did such a stupid thing today, he's dead for sure. What bullshit genius. Don't even think about continuing to be arrogant." "Old thing, you're bullshitting. Ling Xiao will definitely not die today. He didn't die when he encountered Chan Songxiong, the Lightning Seigneur, and Elder Kong. He didn't die when he caused havoc in the Thunder Capital. How can he die here?" The young man argued. No one wanted to hear others curse their idol. "Humph, kid, you'd better be smart and not stand on the wrong side. Otherwise, not only will Ling Xiao die today, you'll also be buried with him." The genius Nemesis emitted a cold, murderous intent, and a terrifying aura was directed at the young man. He originally wanted to show off in front of Phoenix in the Cloud and Yunlan. He wanted to show his loyalty and his strength. In this way, after Phoenix in the Cloud obtained the Chen Nation's world, he could also get a share of it. "Humph, I don't know if I'll die or not, but Ling Xiao definitely won't die. Yunlan actually needed Phoenix in the Cloud's help in the trial of the Devil Sea secret realm. He's not qualified to be compared with Ling Xiao." Facing the murderous intent released by the genius Nemesis, the young man's expression changed slightly, but he still said stubbornly, "Actually, Yunlan and Ling Xiao had heard the conversation between the two. Before the battle, there were actually people arguing so fiercely about who was stronger. It was also a strange thing. Yunlan was not in a hurry to make a move. After all, this was Vice Sect Leader Yun's residence. Since Ling Xiao was here, he could forget about leaving easily. A cooked duck could not fly away. He looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said, "I really didn't expect that there would be an idiot who blindly worships you and doesn't even want his own life." Ling Xiao chuckled and said, "I can't help it. Who asked me to do something real? I really didn't know that you came to the dragon cult because you couldn't beat Qin Songxiong. What is this called? A stray dog? Damn it." Yun Lan's expression instantly turned ugly. Then he suddenly sneered and shouted at the genius Nemesis. "Today, whoever dares to support Ling Xiao can forget about leaving alive. Kill that guy." He knew that he might not be able to kill Ling Xiao in a short time. However, it would be easy for the genius Nemesis to kill the person who supported Ling Xiao. In this way, who would dare to support Ling Xiao? Who would dare to stand on Ling Xiao's side? He wanted Ling Xiao to have a taste of what it was like to be alone before he died. The genius Nemesis originally wanted to make a move, but he did not want to ruin Yun Lan's mood. When he heard Yun Lan's words, he chuckled, knowing that his chance had come. "Kid, don't blame me. Who asked you to support that idiot Ling Xiao? Since that's the case, I'll let you go down first and wait for him." The genius Nemesis walked towards the young man and suddenly sped up. His right hand formed the shape of a claw and viciously grabbed at the young man's heart. Chapter 28-22. The young man resisted with all his might. However, everyone could see that the young man was no match for this genius Nemesis. As long as he was hit by this attack, even if he didn't die, he would definitely be seriously injured. Those who supported Phoenix in the Cloud were indifferently waiting to see a joke. However, at this moment, whoosh! The sound of a sharp blade piercing through the air, was suddenly heard. One of the genius nemesis's arms had been cut off, revealing a terrifying, bloody stubble. The genius nemesis screamed in horror. "Who is it? Which son of AB asterisk TCH did it?" "It's me." Ling Zhao's domineering and cold voice came from the sky. "Today, if anyone dares to disrespect me, this old man will be their example." Ling Zhao was giving him a taste of his own medicine. Yunlan had just said that he would kill anyone who dared to support him. However, he said that anyone who dared to disrespect him would end up like this genius nemesis. Looking at the bloody severed arm, it was obviously more intimidating than Yunlan's words. Yunlan was very shocked. When Ling Zhao attacked just now, he actually thought of a sneak attack. However, he gave up in the end. This was because not only was Ling Zhao's speed extremely fast, but he also had no flaws, so he couldn't attack at all. He could only watch as Ling Zhao cut off the genius nemesis's arm. However, now he finally had time to stand in front of Ling Zhao and said coldly, "You're courting death! Get out of my way." Ling Zhao looked at Yunlan indifferently. Although Yunlan's cultivation was higher than his, to be honest, he didn't see Yunlan as an opponent at all. If they really fought, he could take Yunlan's life in less than 3 moves. However, he came here today not only to kill, but more importantly, to dampen the spirit of Phoenix in the Clouds faction. Looking at Ling Zhao in the sky, the young man's eyes instantly became extremely fiery. Ling Zhao was indeed Ling Zhao. He was too strong and too domineering. He was indeed his idol, the person he worshipped. "Young hero Yin, please step aside. I'm going to kill him. Kill him." The blood on Genius's Bane's arm had stopped. Hatred had blinded his eyes. He thought that he had underestimated his opponent just now. If he was serious enough, he would definitely be able to kill Ling Zhao. Definitely. Yunlan thought for a moment and actually stepped aside. He wasn't too sure about Ling Zhao's strength, but if this genius nemesis was willing to help him test the waters, he wouldn't mind. "Many thanks." The long robe of the nemesis of geniuses fluttered without wind. The terrifying killing intent surged once again. Although he lost his right arm, it was not a big deal for a Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Below his right shoulder, he had actually used his internal energy and elements to condense an elemental arm. It wasn't as beautiful as a real arm, but it was quite useful. Whoosh! Like an arrow leaving a bow, he suddenly shot up from the ground and rushed towards Ling Zhao. The terrifying aura rubbed against the air, producing an ear-piercing sound, making this night even more unusual. Die! An angry roar sounded in the middle of the night, startling countless owls. In the next moment, blood splattered in the night sky like a rain of flowers. Under the light, it was so beautiful and ferocious. Naturally, the one who died was not Ling Zhao. The furious nemesis of geniuses was shattered by Ling Zhao's palm. The corpse shattered and scattered on the ground. The scene was very horrifying. A piece of trash dares to call himself the nemesis of geniuses? Pathetic. Lamentable. If you didn't attack me, you would just lose an arm. Now, you can only blame yourself for being too cocky. Ling Zhao looked at Yunlan again and said provocatively, "The person who supported you is already dead. It seems like you're the one who can't do it." Arrogant, domineering, and looking down on everyone, Ling Zhao stood there and looked coldly at Yunlan. His eyes were filled with mockery. "Yunlan, you're not only shameless to your enemies, but also to your own people. You know that he's no match for me, but you want him to die for you. Haha, it's really disappointing." Ling Zhao wanted to shake the other party's morale, and what he said was also the truth. Anyone with a bit of brain understood that Yunlan just said that he wanted to kill Ling Zhao, but he did not make a move for a long time. Clearly, he was afraid of Ling Zhao. This meant that Ling Zhao's strength was probably not much worse than Yunlan's. Although the nemesis of geniuses was not weak, compared to Yunlan, it was far worse. But Yunlan allowed him to deal with Ling Zhao. What was it if not sending him to death? Many people who originally supported Yunlan lowered their heads. Their faces were somewhat pale. Fortunately, it was not them who made a move. Otherwise, not only would they die, but they would also die very unjustly, simply full of nonsense. Yunlan's face became very stiff because Ling Xiao happened to say what was in his mind, making him unable to refute. Haha, I'm full of nonsense. Ling Xiao sneered and said, Yunlan, you and I have fought in the Demon Sea secret realm. With your eyesight, it's impossible that you can't judge my strength. Could it be that you want to tell me that your eyes suddenly went blind and you didn't know that he would be killed by me if he made a move? Yunlan did not say anything because, no matter how he tried to explain, it might cause him to fall into a deeper contradiction. So he simply did not say anything. Come on, Dragon Cult's #1 genius. I want to see if you're worthy of such honor. Ling Xiao beckoned Yunlan with his finger. He had said what he wanted to say. Next, what he wanted to do was to ruthlessly crush the arrogance of these people in front of Phoenix in the cloud. He wanted to let them know the consequences of offending him. Ling Xiao, deputy sect leader, this kid is simply too arrogant. There's no need to talk about Jianghu justice with him. Why don't we all attack together and kill him? Let's see if he can still be arrogant after that. One of the branch leaders could not bear to see Ling Xiao behave so atrociously here. His anger was about to burn him up. Haha, if any of you are not convinced, you can stand up and fight with me, Ling Xiao. But remember, in today's battle, there is no victory or defeat, only life or death. If you don't have the guts, keep your mouth shut and don't fart. You're embarrassing yourself. Ling Xiao dared to provoke all the martial artists of Phoenix in the cloud by himself. Arrogant, too arrogant. The originally lively residents of the deputy sect leader instantly became dead silent. Everyone stared at Ling Xiao in shock. That domineering figure and arrogant voice made them feel a shock they had never felt before. Was he an idiot? Was he crazy? Or was he so strong that he could ignore Phoenix in the cloud? Ignore everyone? Ignore everything? All the martial artists of Phoenix in the cloud had ugly expressions. Ling Xiao's words were not only a provocation, but also an insult. It was a trampling on their reputation. Even so, except for a few experts, most of them did not dare to respond to Ling Xiao's provocation. In a battle of life and death, their minds were still relatively clear. Just from the scene of Ling Xiao killing the genius's nemesis with one move, they could see that this kid's cultivation had definitely advanced to the 12th level of hell. Chapter 28-23. Ling Xiao, do you know what your words mean? The first sect elder's body was trembling. The third sect elder was killed, and the second sect elder was turned into a pig because of Ling Xiao. Even if everyone here added up their hatred for Ling Xiao, they wouldn't have as much hatred as him. He didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so arrogant in front of so many people. It was beyond his imagination. Old dog, cut the crap. If you're not convinced, you can fight me. Even if you join forces with Yunlan, there's no problem. I'm just afraid that you won't dare to fight me. Ling Xiao looked at the first sect elder with disdain. She was only at the peak of Yin-Yang realm level 11. She was able to become a sect elder because of her seniority and Chen Bai's high regard for her. Unfortunately, not only did she not repay Chen Bai's kindness, but she also colluded with Phoenix in the cloud in an attempt to usurp power. She was shameless. Facing Ling Xiao's provocation, the first sect elder's expression changed. If she didn't fight, her reputation would fall to rock bottom. If she fought, she was worried that she would be killed by Ling Xiao. After all, Ling Xiao's current strength was different from before. Ling Xiao's strength was above hers. She was the Dragon Cult's first sect elder. Instead, he was caught in an awkward dilemma. Go ahead. With Yunlan here, are you afraid that you can't kill that kid? This is a rare opportunity. If there's any danger, I'll help. Phoenix in the cloud was even more shameless than the first sect elder. He didn't care if others called him despicable. After all, Ling Xiao was the one who provoked him. To be honest, He didn't have much confidence in Yunlan alone. However, with the help of the cunning first sect elder, the situation was completely different. However, he still didn't feel at ease. In his opinion, if he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, he had to kill Ling Xiao directly. He couldn't give Ling Xiao any chance to turn the tables. The rest of you come at me together. He looked at the Helm Masters who had come to participate in the secret meeting. These people's cultivations were all at the 12th level of Hell in Yinyang Realm. There were a total of 6 people, 4 of whom were in the middle stage and 2 in the late stage. Yes, Vice Sect Leader. These people had been unhappy with Ling Xiao for a long time. He actually came here to provoke them. He really didn't put them in his eyes. They had always been outside, so the dragon cult did not know much about their strength. They also wanted to use this opportunity to prove themselves and show the audience what they were capable of. The dragon cult's experts weren't just limited to the demon dragon city's experts. Kill! The 8 of them were all Yinyang Realm experts at the 12th level of Hell. They wanted to join forces to kill Ling Xiao. This made many onlookers break out in cold sweat for Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao only smiled faintly. It was as if nothing had happened. Little Gold, don't do anything. My cultivation has been breaking through too quickly recently. I need to practice and stabilize it through battle. Ling Xiao said to Little Gold, you just need to keep an eye on Phoenix in the cloud. If that old guy attacks, kill him. Okay. Little Gold nodded and stared at Phoenix in the cloud. Although Phoenix in the cloud didn't seem to have any intention of attacking now, when the battle situation changed, that guy would definitely not sit still. Ling Xiao brought Little Gold here for Phoenix in the cloud. Among all the warriors here, except for Phoenix in the cloud and Domineering Blade Ghostly, he didn't have the confidence to defeat them. He really didn't care about the others. Kid, you're too arrogant. Watch me kill you. One of the Helm Masters was probably anxious to make a contribution. He actually ignored the others and attacked first. His cultivation was stronger than that genius nemesis, and his combat strength was also stronger. Therefore, he didn't think that he would end up like that person. He suddenly took a step forward in the void. Monstrous killing intent shrouded Ling Xiao. A long saber appeared in his hand, and then a fierce saber aura bloomed in the void. Ling Xiao stood there and looked at this person with contempt. He raised his hand, and the 8 immortal sword in his hand shone. It was bright and sharp. Chi, chi, an ear-piercing sound was heard. The sword aura directly cut through the saber aura. In just an instant, the Helm Master let out a shrill scream and fell from the sky to the ground. A sword mark appeared on his neck. It represented Ling Xiao's sword mark. Fresh blood was constantly spurting out from the sword mark. The Helm Master's life force was also rapidly fading away. Ling Xiao just casually swung his sword. He didn't even use any sword skills or beast soul transformation. Yet, he killed one of the Helm Masters. This scene happened in front of everyone's eyes. So strong! Everyone's hearts twitched fiercely. Ling Xiao's strength was obviously more terrifying than they had imagined. Why was he so domineering, frivolous, and arrogant? It was because he really had such strength. The Helm Master of the Helm Master had been arrogant for a long time. He thought that after returning to the dragon cult, he would be in existence above everyone else. However, he couldn't block Ling Xiao's casual attack. He couldn't even dodge it. It was too terrifying. Trash! As the Helm Master of the dragon cult's Helm Master, you formed a gang with the vice leader. You deserve death. Ling Xiao's voice resounded through the night sky. He actually killed as he said, without any intention of showing mercy. For a moment, Yunlan and the others were stunned. For a long time, they didn't have the intention to attack. They seemed to be frightened by Ling Xiao's terrifying strength. Phoenix in the cloud, didn't you want to usurp power and seize the throne? Today, I'll crush your ambition in front of you. Let's see what you have to fight with the cult leader and my master. Ling Xiao didn't look at the others. Instead, he pointed his sword at Phoenix in the cloud and said coldly. In the dark night, a figure appeared not far away. He was the dragon cult's leader, Qin Bai. Chen Yan had reported the situation here to him. He was worried that Ling Xiao would be in danger, so he hurried over. However, as soon as he arrived, he saw Ling Xiao kill a Helm Master of the Helm Master. This scene really shocked him. This kid is really getting stronger. As long as he gets the demon dragon sword, no one in the dragon cult can suppress him except for Phoenix in the cloud and me. My eyesight is really not bad. Qin Bai wasn't in a hurry to expose his identity. Instead, he hid in the crowd and watched. Since things had already escalated to this point, it was better to let Ling Xiao vent. This Phoenix in the cloud is really an idiot. He actually dared to attack Ling Xiao's benefactor, Dark Knight Formless. You know Ling Xiao's temper. Isn't this clearly showing that he's completely falling out with him? It seems that tonight might be the final battle. It all depends on how far Ling Xiao can push things. If there's a chance, I'll kill Phoenix in the cloud tonight and completely destroy Phoenix in the cloud's faction. I'll regain control of the dragon cult. What are you looking at me for? Attack together. Chapter 28-24. Phoenix in the cloud was afraid of Qin Bai, so he did not take action personally. He did not know whether Ling Xiao's actions were a result of Ling Xiao's own whim or Qin Bai's manipulation. If he took action, Qin Bai would definitely take action and he would be defeated. Domineering Blade, Ghostly could not take action because Xiao Mu was there. Although that woman's body belonged to him, her heart was still with Qin Bai. Therefore, tonight's success or failure depended entirely on Yunlan and the others. It was quite laughable. Everyone, don't be afraid. The 7 of us will join forces and attack together. We will help each other, and we will be able to defeat Ling Xiao. Yunlan also shouted loudly, "Ha, join hands? Do you think that despicable and shameless people like you will sincerely join hands? You will probably betray your own people in the middle of the battle." Ling Xiao sneered and said disdainfully, "Bullshit." Yunlan shouted, "Don't listen to him. He is trying to sow discord." "Is that so?" Ling Xiao suddenly sneered. In a flash, he used the demonic dragon's phantom body technique and pounced on Yunlan. Yunlan was shocked. She quickly released her star sword martial soul to fight against Ling Xiao. The rest of the people also attacked Ling Xiao from different directions. Boom! The swords collided in the sky, and sword chi splashed everywhere. The sky was filled with dazzling sword radiance, and many people temporarily lost their vision. At this moment, the corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled up into a cold smile. Borrowing the rebound force from Yunlan's attack, he charged towards the first elder in another direction. He was too fast. The first sect elder could not react in time. He was not Yunlan. He was not as strong as Yunlan. Don't be afraid. We will save you. Apart from Yunlan, the other 5 branch leaders all charged towards Ling Xiao, attempting to besiege Wei to rescue Xiao. Uft! Another person was hit in the sky. The one who was struck by the sword was not the first elder, but the leader of another branch. The position of the sword was also his throat. Idiots! Didn't you notice that Yunlan didn't move at all? My goal is not to be the first elder. This old dog is the weakest, so it's not too late to deal with him. You're truly a moth flying into a flame, digging your own grave. Ling Xiao pulled out his sword and shook off the blood. In just a short moment, 2 branch leaders had already died. For a time, the hearts of the people began to change. Originally, these people were still considered united. However, after experiencing Ling Xiao's 2 massacres, they started to become suspicious. Very good. Ling Xiao smiled coldly. This change in the other party was naturally beneficial to him. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill all of you ungrateful wretches before killing Yunlan and the first elder. Ling Xiao said loudly. Then he turned around and stabbed his sword at one of the branch leaders. Save me. This person had long been scared out of his wits by Ling Zhao's previous 2 attacks. He didn't even know how to dodge and could only cry for help in horror. Unfortunately, no one moved. Yunlan didn't move, the first elder didn't move, and the remaining 3 branch leaders didn't move either. He looked on helplessly as Ling Zhao's sword pierced his throat. He died in anger and despair. He probably didn't understand why his people didn't want to save him even when he died. Why? Ling Zhao sighed in his heart. If these people really wanted to unite to deal with him, it would be really difficult. It was like a monk carrying water to drink, 2 monks carrying water to drink, and 3 monks having no water to drink. For these despicable people, the more people there were, the more useless they were. It was even easier than killing Yunlan alone. Yunlan, first elder, the 2 of you hurry up and do it. He said that he would kill us first and won't kill you. One of the branch masters shouted, "Idiot, you dare to believe his words? This guy is very cunning. Who knows what he will do?" Yunlan couldn't help but curse. "You're the idiot. Do you think that we've done too much and you've lost your position with Deputy Sect Master Yin? So you're deliberately trying to kill us? Think about it carefully. Your strength is not bad. How could you be defeated by Ling Zhao so quickly? It doesn't make sense." A branch leader scolded. The other 3 people also followed suit. They all felt that Yunlan was up to no good. Damn it, we can't fight among ourselves. Otherwise, Ling Zhao will reap the benefits. The first elder was the most anxious now. He was the weakest. If there was someone to protect him, he could sneak an attack on Ling Zhao. But if they fought among themselves, there would be no one to protect him. Then wouldn't he be dead? "Oh no, I can't move." Suddenly, another branch leader shouted in horror. Just as he was arguing with Yunlan, Ling Zhao's 2 Heavenly Thunder Divine Guards had already arrived behind him and firmly restrained his body. "Die." Ling Zhao swung his sword across the air. The power of this sword was actually not great. If someone was willing to block it for this guy, he would definitely not die. But unfortunately, the people's hearts were scattered. No one cared about his life at all. This guy's head was directly chopped off by this sword, and his headless body fell to the ground. See, I was right. Ling Zhao has set his sights on the few of us. What are you guys afraid of? Let's do it. The remaining 2 branch leaders were martial artists at the late stage of the 12th level of Hell in Yinyang Realm. They were not easy to deal with, but at this moment their hearts were in a mess. They couldn't unite their strength to deal with Ling Zhao at all. Instead, they were arguing with each other. Yunlan had no choice but to bite the bullet and attack Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao smiled slightly and finally entered the beast soul transformation state. He used the beast soul transformation of the tyrannical blood demonic dragon. In an instant, his combat strength skyrocketed. He and Yunlan went back and forth in the sky, and the battle was very lively. However, the first clan elder and the remaining 2 branch leaders were just there to watch the show. They didn't dare to help, because they couldn't be sure whether this was Ling Zhao's trap again. Boom! Yunlan's sword chi blasted Ling Zhao's body. Ling Zhao fell from the sky to the ground, his mouth full of blood. Opportunity. The first elder and the other 2 branch leaders saw this opportunity. Yunlan also saw this as an opportunity. The 4 of them attacked Ling Zhao almost at the same time. They wanted to kill Ling Zhao before Ling Zhao gained a firm foothold. "Get out of here. When I was fighting hard, you were watching from the sidelines. Now you want to take advantage of me? No way." When she got close to Ling Zhao, Yunlan suddenly swung her sword at her own people. The 2 branch leaders and the first elder were so frightened that they hurriedly dodged to the side. Be careful. Chapter 28-25. Yunlan also felt it. A terrifying, murderous aura came from behind him. He had no time to react. The distance was too close. My life is over. His heart was filled with regret. Ling Zhao, this fellow, was actually pretending to be injured and purposely baiting him. However, The two branch leaders revealed gloating smiles. But in the next moment, they could not laugh anymore. Ling Xiao's attack actually brushed past Yunlan's body and killed two birds with one stone, piercing the throats of two branch leaders at the same time. I've said it before. I'll kill you first. Ling Xiao withdrew his sword and shook off the blood as he spat out these words. He was even more terrifying in his tyrant, blood, demonic dragon form. Then he looked at Yunlan and the first elder. Next, it's time for you to pay with your lives. He did not waste time talking nonsense and stepped into the air. This time he did not use any tricks. He just went straight for the first elder. That old man deserved to die. Ling Xiao did not intend to find trouble with him before, but he still jumped high. He actually wanted to find trouble with Ling Xiao every time. If he did not kill him, who would he kill? Yunlan stared at Ling Xiao. He was afraid that Ling Xiao would kill the first elder and cause trouble for him. In the end, not only did he not help the first elder, but he also ran away. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a mocking smile. The sword rose and fell. Stop! Phoenix in the cloud roared. At this time, even if Chen Bai was present, he could not help it. The death of the branch leaders had put him in a very passive position. If the first elder died, he would suffer a great loss. However, would Ling Xiao listen to him? His sword still stabbed down without hesitation. The first elder was shocked to the extreme. He did not expect that Ling Xiao would dare to kill him in public. Yunlan, that bastard, actually hid at the side. No one dared to help him, and no one was willing to help him. The moment Phoenix in the cloud attempted to make a move, he discovered that a terrifying killing intent had locked onto him. In the crowd, Chen Bai's lips curled into a smile. In the past, it was Phoenix in the cloud who bullied his foster children. Many of them died at the hands of Phoenix in the cloud. Last time, he even threw all the disciples who supported him into the dungeon. Did they really think that Chen Bai didn't care? He was just holding it in. Today, he felt that he didn't need to endure anymore. In the end, Phoenix in the cloud didn't make a move. In the sky, the first elder could feel the bone-chilling, killing intent. He felt as if his body had been completely frozen. His entire body was trembling uncontrollably, not to mention blocking. He didn't even have the courage to dodge. Kill! Soaring killing intent bloomed in the void. Ling Xiao's roar reverberated between heaven and earth. With this sword, no one could stop Ling Xiao. The terrifying sword light was released in the sky. It was so bright and dazzling that many people couldn't help but pay attention to it. However, there was also a sense of uneasiness in their hearts. The sword finally fell. Everything seemed to have returned to calm. The whole place was dead silent. Only the dripping blood under the light fell to the ground drop by drop. The sound was so clear and loud. The first elder's throat was bleeding. The bright blood stain was a little dazzling under the light. His eyes were wide open in horror. It was as if he still couldn't believe that he had died just like that. Bang! His body fell to the ground with a loud sound that made many people tremble. The first elder was killed by Ling Xiao in front of Phoenix in the cloud. It was like a nightmare. Many people came here to see Ling Xiao make a fool of himself. They wanted to see how Ling Xiao would be dealt with by Deputy Leader Yin. However, what they witnessed was Ling Xiao's peerless dominance and merciless killing. No one could stop his sword. No one. Killing the first elder in front of everyone was equivalent to ruthlessly stepping on Phoenix in the cloud's face. This was even more brutal than a slap in the face. There was a suffocating silence. People trembled as they looked at the lifeless corpse on the ground. They looked at Ling Xiao again. Under the moonlight, the young man stood in the air. He was proud, arrogant, and supercilious. Many of them had only heard of Ling Xiao's illustrious name before. He killed the 8th prince, killed Ji Hyun of Silla, eliminated the 7 generals of the Sky Thunder Army, defeated Chen Songxiong, killed the Thunder Lord, and fought Elder Kong alone. He occupied the 8 Immortals County and declared himself king. However, those were just legends. No one could be sure whether they were true or not. However, today they saw with their own eyes Ling Xiao's domineering, frivolous, and peerless martial arts techniques. They also saw his fearless fighting spirit and anger for his benefactor. They finally understood that those were not legends. They must be true. In this world, other than him and Ling Xiao, who else would have such courage and courage? Who would dare to be so unrestrained, arrogant, and domineering? Even the dragon cult's leader, Qinbai, could not compare with Ling Xiao in this aspect. Phoenix in the cloud assassinated my benefactor behind my back. Then I will kill your lackey and destroy your disciple in front of you. I will not be a coward who hides his head and shows his tail. I will humiliate you fair and square. People had no doubt. If Ling Xiao was given a little more time, he might even be able to kill Phoenix in the cloud. This young man was too terrifying. He seemed to have already disregarded life and death. Today he was looking for Phoenix in the cloud and these people. Yunlan stood opposite Ling Xiao. His breathing became a little rapid. He was angry, but he was more afraid. When did Ling Xiao become so terrifying and powerful? If he had known this would happen, he would have killed Ling Xiao on the day that Ling Xiao joined the dragon cult. Now, it was too late for regrets. Make your move. You're the only one left. Ling Xiao looked at Yunlan with contempt and said, "You won't be a coward who runs away at the last minute, right?" Yunlan did not refute. He felt that every cell in his body was filled with fear. He did not know what he should do. Run. How could he face the dragon cult in the future? Not run. But he really did not have any confidence that he could defeat Ling Xiao. Do it. Phoenix in the cloud suddenly spoke. Today, I want to see how Ling Xiao will kill you. Yunlan was Phoenix in the cloud's last hope. He could not let Yunlan die. Otherwise, he would have no place in the dragon cult. Therefore, even if he had to fight with Qinbai, he could not let Yunlan die. Okay, master, I will listen to you. Yunlan took a deep breath. Maybe it was Phoenix in the clouds' words that gave him confidence. Demonic dragon phantom. Great success stage. He suddenly used the demonic dragon phantom. The star-sword martial spirit behind him shone with dazzling light. It was like a light dragon that shot towards Ling Xiao. Demonic dragon phantom. Great success stage. Ling Xiao also used the demonic dragon phantom. They were both at the great success stage. However, in the eyes of others, Ling Xiao's speed was obviously faster than Yunlan's. They could not understand why, but the truth was in front of them. They had no choice but to believe it. Demonic Dragon Possession Stage 1. Speed Summoning Demonic Dragon. Chapter 28-26. A demonic dragon condensed in the void and entered Yunlan's body. At that moment, Yunlan's speed increased tremendously. He had obviously surpassed Ling Xiao. Kid, you're at your wit's end. You've only learned the demonic dragon possession for a few days. It's impossible for you to comprehend it. I'll crush you on this. Yunlan finally found some balance in his heart. His fear was not as strong as before. Is that so? Demonic Dragon Possession, Level 1. Summon Speed Demonic Dragon. In the next moment, Ling Xiao gave Yunlan a hard slap. He had also used the Demonic Dragon Possession level. His speed increased tremendously, and he surpassed Yunlan once again. At that moment, the two of them were close to each other. Ling Xiao kicked Yunlan to the ground. Before killing Yunlan, he wanted to torture this **starred. Otherwise, he would not be able to get rid of the hatred in his heart. How is this possible? Yunlan, who had fallen heavily to the ground, looked at Ling Xiao in horror. The confidence that he had just regained disappeared without a trace in an instant. He was too shocked. How could Ling Xiao comprehend the demonic dragon possession level 1 in such a short time? It was simply unbelievable. Genius, a peerless genius. The sect leader has really picked up a treasure this time. That's right. To be able to cultivate the demonic dragon phantom level 1 in such a short time, this young man is probably much more talented than Qin Songxiong. Did someone just say that Yunlan is the #1 genius of the dragon cult? Now it looks like a joke. In the crowd, shocked discussions rose and fell one after another. Qin Bai's eyes were filled with joy. Perhaps even he did not expect Ling Xiao to give him such a big surprise. On the other hand, Phoenix in the cloud's face became even colder. It was as though ice was about to form on his face. The better Ling Xiao's performance was, the worse his mood was. Yunlan, if you have any other tricks up your sleeve, use them. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. Ling Xiao stood in the void and said arrogantly to Yunlan. Killing Yunlan so easily was too easy for this be *starred. All right, you forced me to do this. Please don't blame me. Yunlan suddenly roared towards the sky. What followed was a change in his body. It was as if his entire body had been melted by lava. However, upon closer inspection, he realized that it was not melting. Instead, his body had been replaced by lava. After a while, the flames disappeared and Yunlan reappeared in front of everyone. His height had increased by about a meter, and his aura had increased by several times. His entire body was covered in lava, making him look like a completely different person. Why is there the aura of a demonic sea beast king? Ling Xiao frowned. He suddenly thought of Yunlan's special mission in the demonic sea secret realm. Could it be this? Fusing a warrior with a demonic sea beast king? This technique was really quite brilliant. It was almost on par with martial soul transformation. He knew that in this world, there were some very evil and extreme techniques, including the removal of martial spirits. It seemed that the fusion between humans and demonic beasts had also achieved a breakthrough. Fine, let me see how strong your new body is. Ling Xiao's figure suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Yunlan in an instant. The sword in his hand pierced out mercilessly. Ding! However, the result was not satisfactory. The 8 immortal swords pierced Yunlan's throat, but there was a strange sound of metal clashing. Ha ha ha, idiot. My current body can only be hurt by martial techniques above the 3rd heaven of the immortal grade. Other attacks will not have any effect at all. Yunlan laughed wildly. He was ecstatic that he had succeeded in one transformation. At this time he had abandoned the long sword and punched at Ling Xiao fiercely with both fists. The blazing fist force instantly arrived in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao frowned and used the demonic dragon phantom to dodge instantly. Then the long sword in his hand stabbed out crazily. Within a minute, he stabbed out more than 1,000 times. Yunlan's body was pierced from head to toe. There were no flaws, and the effect was exactly the same. He suddenly stopped the attack and stepped back. He looked at Yunlan and said, "Interesting. This defense is indeed very surprising. However, this will only make your death more miserable. Demonic dragon possession. Change. Summon inner strength. Demonic dragon. Tyrant blood. Demonic dragon. Demonic dragon blood curse." With the release of the demonic dragon blood curse, the magma on Yunlan's body began to fly in the direction of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao seemed to have become a vortex that could swallow magma, a black hole. Do you think that my attacks just now had no effect? Although they can't hurt you, they made your transformation more lax, which is perfect for my demonic dragon blood curse. If you had a physical body, it wouldn't be so easy for my demonic dragon blood curse to devour your chi and blood. However, you have turned yourself into such a monster. Your physical defense is strong, but your internal organization has become loose. Your chi and blood have turned into magma and are exposed to the outside world, which makes it easier for me to absorb. Ling Xiao's cold voice resounded in the night. Yunlan's screams were also constantly heard. He screamed in fear and desperately returned to his original body. "Idiot, you actually told me your purpose. It seems that you aren't as smart as I thought you were." After Yunlan recovered from his shock, he began to mock Ling Xiao. However, he saw Ling Xiao's mocking smile. "Sorry, I lied just now. Bloodthirsty plague. Following his voice, Yunlan suddenly turned pale with fright. He returned to his original body and brought the bloodthirsty plague that was originally attached to the surface of his body into his body. At this moment, the pain was 100 times worse than before. After killing you, he won't have to suffer anymore, right? Suddenly, a cold voice sounded from below. Phoenix in the cloud finally couldn't hold it in anymore and jumped up. He couldn't watch his disciple die in front of him without being able to do anything. However, what made him feel strange was that Chunbai didn't make a move. He didn't understand. However, he couldn't think too much about it. If Chunbai didn't make a move, he could just kill Ling Xiao. In fact, the reason why Chunbai didn't make a move was entirely because Ling Xiao stopped him. Tonight's matter, regardless of whether it was good or bad, Ling Xiao would bear the responsibility alone. However, if Chunbai made a move, it would be different. The nature of the matter would change. It would become a conspiracy of the sect leader. That would damage Chunbai's reputation. Anyway, Ling Xiao came with little gold. Since he wanted to play, he might as well play big. Die, you brat! Phoenix in the cloud's palm wind sounded behind Ling Xiao. The vice sect leader was indeed powerful. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 12th level of Hell, Yin-Yang realm. Moreover, his aura seemed to be about to break through. He was indeed stronger than Chunbai. Little Gold was naturally inferior to him. However, if Little Gold suddenly attacked, even Phoenix in the cloud wouldn't be able to block it. Phoenix in the cloud was only about a foot away from Ling Xiao. Suddenly, a golden light shot out from Ling Xiao's shoulder. Chapter 28-27. The distance between them was close, and the difference in strength wasn't large. Moreover, the attack was sudden. No matter how powerful Phoenix in the cloud was, he was still hit by Xiao Jin's 9 underworld yellow springs golden light. A mournful scream resounded through the night, causing everyone's heart to twitch. Half of Phoenix in the cloud's body was almost completely charred. His body fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. If not for the fact that his head was still intact, this attack would have taken the old dog's life. Damn, this old dog's reaction is fast. Xiao Jin cursed. No matter how fast his reaction is, he still has to die. Ling Xiao sneered. He didn't need to worry about Yunlan. The bloodthirsty plague had already tortured Yunlan to the brink of death. Even if he was rescued now, it would still be difficult for him to escape. Therefore, killing Phoenix in the cloud was the key. He used the demonic dragon phantom and pounced toward Phoenix in the cloud at an extremely fast speed. He wanted to take his life while he was down. What a vicious brat! Where it's possible to make mistakes, one should spare them. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning fell behind Phoenix in the cloud. He waved his hand, and a terrifying force rushed toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao swung his sword to block, but was forced back dozens of steps. The half-dead Phoenix in the cloud was also rescued by the bolt of lightning. Even though Chunbai chased after him, he had already disappeared. Someone from the Chun country's royal family? Ling Xiao was familiar with the bolt of lightning. It had the aura of the Chun country's royal family's lightning martial soul. He sneered. Even though he didn't kill Phoenix in the cloud, from today onwards, Phoenix in the cloud would no longer be able to cause trouble in the dragon cult. You all saw it. Phoenix in the cloud has colluded with the Chun country's royal family. It's obvious that this isn't the first day or two. This is your vice sect leader Yin. Humph. He snorted coldly and looked at Yunlan, who had already been tortured to death by the bloodthirsty plague. He turned around and left. When he came here, he was so arrogant that not many people thought that he could leave this place alive. However, not only was he alive, but he was also unharmed when he left. The first elder was dead. Yunlan was dead. The 6 branch leaders who followed Phoenix in the cloud were also dead. Even half of the cloud Phoenix's body was sent back by Little Gold's golden light. If it weren't for the experts from the Chun Kingdom's royal family suddenly coming to the rescue, Phoenix in the cloud was dead for sure. Even so, it was still a complete victory. Undoubtedly, it was a complete victory. Master, I'll leave the aftermath to you. Ling Xiao didn't want to get too involved in things that were too taxing. Today, he was only helping Dark Knight vent her anger. Too strong. Too domineering. This young man is a true one-in-a-million genius. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao's departing figure, and a strong sense of reverence rose in their hearts. Only domineering Blade Ghostly and a few of Phoenix in the Cloud's die-hard followers looked at Ling Xiao, wishing they could skin him alive. However, they didn't do anything. At this moment, they understood that only by temporarily severing ties with Phoenix and the Cloud could they preserve their lives and their current status. To them, a moment of forbearance was a permanent victory. Although this night was unforgettable, it was still over. In the next 3 days, Ling Xiao seized the time to cultivate because he had a vague feeling that a terrible storm was coming. If he couldn't make himself stronger as soon as possible, he would be torn to pieces in this storm. After 3 days, he finally cultivated the demonic dragon possession to the 2nd level. He cultivated the demonic dragon phantom to perfection. He cultivated the earth demon secret technique that he obtained from Cold Frost Town to the 3rd level. However, his cultivation still showed no signs of a breakthrough. He walked out of the demonic hall and made a request to Qinbai to go to the demonic dragon mountain range and obtain the demonic dragon sword. Now, no one in the entire dragon cult was qualified to compete with him for the demonic dragon sword. However, obtaining the demonic dragon sword was still not easy. From Qinbai's words, the demonic dragon sword wasn't an ordinary sword. Other swords were dead, but the demonic dragon sword was alive. It would only choose the person it thought was suitable to be its master. When Qinbai heard Ling Xiao's request, he naturally wouldn't stop him. Thus, Ling Xiao embarked on the journey to the demonic dragon mountain alone. He left Xiao Jin in the dragon cult to protect Yihei Wuxing and the others, and at the same time to assist Qinbai. He originally thought that the demonic dragon mountain was very close to the demonic dragon city, but after obtaining the map from Qinbai, he discovered that the demonic dragon city was actually hundreds of miles away. Remember, there are hundreds of experts stationed in the demonic dragon mountain. The commander is a good friend of mine, so you don't have to worry about not being able to enter. However, you still have to be careful. This journey is very dangerous. You've offended Phoenix and the Cloud. That guy and the people from the Qin Kingdom's royal family will definitely not let you off easily. Before leaving, Qinbai warned him again and again. Ling Xiao accepted his advice with an open mind. However, even though he was already very careful when he was about 10 miles away from the demonic dragon mountain, he was still surrounded and attacked. Who is it? Ling Xiao coldly looked at the person who blocked his path. He felt that the person's aura was very familiar, but because the other party's face was covered, he didn't dare to be sure. Ling Xiao, as a disciple of the dragon cult, you killed a fellow disciple and injured the vice sect leader. Your crimes are unforgivable. Today you will die here. I will eliminate evil for the dragon cult. That person's cold voice actually contained some certainty. It seemed that today's ambush wasn't simple. Perhaps it had been planned for a long time. Ling Xiao slightly narrowed his eyes. A sharp gaze shot out from his eyes like a cold sword, causing that person to involuntarily dodge. Since you're here, show yourselves. There's no point in hiding. Ling Xiao suddenly looked around and said in a cold voice. Suddenly, figures dashed out from the dense forest. All of them were masked with black cloth covering their faces. Obviously, they didn't want Ling Xiao to see their true faces. However, their exposed eyes were filled with fierce killing intent towards Ling Xiao. It was killing intent, not hatred. In other words, these people weren't here for revenge. They were only here to carry out some kind of mission. There were many people, and none of them were mediocre. They were all very powerful. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. Now, apart from the Qin Kingdom's royal family, Only Phoenix in the Cloud could mobilize so many experts to kill him. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Phoenix in the Cloud had actually controlled the dragon cult for decades. No one knew what he had been doing all these years. However, one thing was for sure. As long as he wasn't dead, he would definitely be able to think of a way to deal with Ling Xiao. You're all masked. Are you afraid of being seen? Ling Xiao sneered softly. Are you incomparably ugly? Or are you afraid of being laughed at by the world for doing such a despicable thing? The person who had blocked the path alone just now sneered. I know you have a sharp tongue, but it's useless. The only thing you can know is that we are all existences of the dragon cult. We are the bottom line of the dragon cult. We are the root. Chapter 28:28. After saying that, the warrior who had blocked Ling Xiao's path by himself added, "We're helping the dragon cult eradicate the traitors and eliminate the danger, and you're the biggest source of trouble. If you don't die, the cult rules won't allow it." Cult rules? Haha. A bunch of people who have to cover their faces in broad daylight and don't even dare to reveal their true faces dare to talk to me about the cult's rules? Didn't the cult's rules teach you the consequences of killing the successor of the cult master? Amidst his laughter, Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly focused, and a terrifying killing intent was released from his body. You really are a magical beast. You know our identities, and you still dare to attack us. You still want to kill us? Fine, since you want to die, you must remember my name after you die, Yang Hua. I can't remember, and there's no need to remember, because you'll die very soon. Before he finished speaking, Ling Xiao had already stabbed out with his sword. This sword was too fast and too sharp. Yang Hua could not dodge. He could only watch helplessly as the sword neared his throat, imagining the tragic scene of his throat being pierced. Clang! At the critical moment, a saber blocked in front of him, blocking Ling Xiao's sword. Shuetu! Yang Hua looked excitedly at the person standing in front of him and let out a long breath. He was too lucky. If Shuetu had not intervened, he would probably be dead. Late stage, first transformation, 12th level of hell cultivation. Ling Xiao looked at the man in a blood-red robe in front of him, who had more than a dozen scars crisscrossing his face, and frowned. This guy looked to be in his 40s. If he was really a member of the dragon cult, then he definitely would not be a nobody. It seemed that he had been hidden by Phoenix in the Cloud for a long time. I've long heard that there's a source of trouble in the cult, and that your strength is not ordinary. Seeing it today, it's true. But no matter how strong you are, you must die today. Shui too coldly looked at Ling Xiao. The blood-red battle saber in his hand released a shocking killing intent. He was originally the most secretive existence in the dragon cult. Phoenix in the Cloud had once said that he would not be awakened unless he completely fell out with Qin Bai. But now he had been awakened. However, it was not for Qin Bai, but for a young man who was known as the source of the disaster. They had come here today for no other reason than to kill Ling Xiao. The source of the chaos? That old dog Phoenix in the Cloud really knows how to flatter people. Ling Xiao sneered. If I'm not wrong, you guys should be from the Dark Dragon Group, right? The Dark Dragon Group was a force that Phoenix in the Cloud had secretly created. Nominally, they were martial artists who carried out assassinations and undercover missions in the dragon cult. In reality, they were nothing more than killing tools that he had secretly nurtured in order to eliminate those who disagreed with him. Over the years, many people in the dragon cult who were loyal to Chen Bai had been assassinated one after another, and it was done by this group of people. The Dark Dragon Group had never been made public, but it really existed. This was what Xiao Muyu had told Chen Bai. Chen Bai had also told Ling Xiao. Since you know our identity, I won't talk nonsense. Now I'll send you on your way. Shui too sneered, and the killing intent on his body became even stronger. Is everyone from the Dark Dragon Group here? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. Except for the leader, everyone is here. You have a lot of face, right? Shui too did not know why Ling Xiao asked this, but he still answered. Very good. Take out your saber. Ling Xiao instantly entered the tyrant, blood, demon, dragon, martial soul transformation state, and then took out the Blood Thunder Emperor sword. Behind him, the sword martial soul began to shine with a sharp light. There were many people on the other side, and many of them were experts. Ling Xiao did not dare to be careless. "Have you accepted your fate?" Xue Tu sneered and then waved his hand and said, "Don't attack, he's mine." As his voice fell, a terrifying saber intent began to spread in the air, blooming. A sharp, overbearing, and bloodthirsty aura wrapped around the blood saber in his hand and spewed out. The saber seemed to have merged with him, becoming a part of his body, making him stronger and more terrifying. Very strong, stronger than Yunlan, but still not enough to worry about. Ling Xiao's brows furrowed slightly, but soon relaxed. Xue Tu's strength might not be stronger than Yunlan's, but his killing intent was stronger, and he had more experience. This kind of person was actually very difficult to deal with. In the underworld, there were actually many martial artists with similar cultivation. Usually, the difference between them would not be too big. At this time, the key to determining the outcome was experience and fighting intent. If Xue Tu and Yunlan were to fight, Yunlan would definitely not be able to withstand 10 moves. This was a real battle, and it was not comparable to an ordinary exchange of pointers. Ling Xiao looked at the apprentice indifferently. The Blood Thunder Emperor sword in his hand shone brilliantly, and a surge of sword intent condensed on the sword. A biting cold intent bloomed in the air. It was like the bone-piercing cold wind in a world of ice and snow, and more like the killing intent of the evil wolves in the underworld. It was very terrifying. It made people tremble with fear, showing off his ability without any concealment. It was so natural, as if the Blood Thunder Emperor sword belonged to Ling Xiao and was inseparable from Ling Xiao. At this time, Ling Xiao was not a person, but a sword that could make everything around lose its brilliance. Suddenly it began to rain. It was a rainy day, and it was a murderous day. The rain was actually expelled by the saber intent and sword intent of the two, forming an empty space between the two of them. It was as if even the rain was afraid of their killing intent. Xue Tu was slightly stunned, as if he was surprised by Ling Xiao's killing intent. It was not at all weaker than him, and this was something he did not expect. But at this time he did not want others to help him, as he could not afford to lose face. No matter what, he was one of the 4 deputy team leaders of the Dark Dragon group. He took a deep breath and slowly raised his right hand, and the blood saber swayed gently along with his arm. At this time, Ling Xiao had stopped his actions. Holding the sword in his right hand, he pointed it at Xue Tu, and a cold smile hung on the corner of his mouth. "I'll ask you one last time. Will you submit to the leader, or follow that old dog phoenix in the cloud to the end?" His voice was very loud and clear, and he believed that whether it was Xue Tu or the people around, they could hear it clearly. But they did not answer. Only Xue Tu sneered. "Kid, I know you have a glib tongue, but a battle is not won by glib tongue. It seems that you have chosen the stupidest path." Ling Xiao's voice slowly sounded. On the sword, the energy was crazily circulating, and streaks of blood thunder were roaring and roaring on the sword. It was as if it could pounce at any time. "It looks scary, but I don't know how strong you really are. I don't use this saber much, but I've used it 100 times and 100 people have died, and I only kill people who are worthy of me. Among these people, your cultivation can only be considered below average." Xue Tu said coldly and proudly, "I hope your saber is really more powerful than your mouth." Chapter 28-29. Are you mocking me? Then go to hell. Xue Tu was furious. No one had ever dared to mock him like that, not even Phoenix in the cloud. He didn't wait any longer. The blood saber in his hand suddenly dashed forward and condensed into a blood dragon in the void. Then the blood saber radiance exploded. In the void, the blood dragon turned into a terrifying blood saber. It fell from the sky and slashed toward Ling Xiao's head. It was as if it was going to split the world in half. Ling Zhao's hand moved at the same time. The Blood Thunder Imperial Sword gently swayed, and the sharp and powerful sword energy condensed into a blood-red dragon, bombarding the huge blood-red war saber. A blood sword and a blood saber. Both were blood-red. Both emitted a bloodthirsty glow. In an instant, the entire space was filled with a terrifying blood red, which made people feel very uncomfortable. Transformative state. Dark sword demon, kill! Suddenly, a more powerful sword essence gushed out from Ling Zhao's sword. His body seemed to have become the energy source of the sword. It kept releasing terrifying energy, making the Blood Thunder Emperor sword indestructible. It became indestructible. Xue Tu frowned. He could feel the terrifying power of the sword. Then he released his saber martial soul at the same time. His blood saber also produced a more terrifying power. The overbearing saber chi collided with the sharp and indestructible sword chi. In an instant, it tore the void and spread throughout the entire space. The surrounding people's hearts twitched. It was really hard for them to imagine that Ling Xiao, a youth who had reincarnated at the age of 16, would be able to fight evenly with Xue Tu, a master who had reincarnated at the age of 40. At that moment, time seemed to have stopped. The saber and the sword were like two extremes. Two evenly matched enemies could not advance an inch. It seems that it won't be easy for Xue Tu to kill him. Yang Hu frowned and quietly took out his weapon. For him, killing Ling Xiao was the most important thing. As for whether it was despicable or not, he didn't care. At that moment, he heard Xue Tu's voice. Yang Hua, you'd better not attack or I'll destroy you. Do you think I only have this bit of strength? This brat is only enough for me to warm up. A cruel smile appeared on Xue Tu's face. It was as if a ferocious beast had emerged from his body. In an instant, his strength and internal energy had become incomparably powerful. At the very least, it had increased by 2 times. Demonic Dragon Possessions, 2nd level. Ling Xiao frowned slightly. At least you know what's good for you. It's your bad luck to meet me today. Go to hell. Xue Tu actually did not understand why they would send so many people to kill Ling Xiao. He alone could easily deal with them. But in the next moment, he no longer saw it that way. The reason for that was because a terrifying scene had appeared before his eyes. 2 demonic dragons formed above Ling Zhao's head. At the same time, it merged into Ling Zhao's body. Demonic dragon possession. You're not the only one who knows how to use it. I know it too. Ling Zhao's lips curled into a disdainful sneer. That's it. The Blood Thunder Emperor sword seemed to have suddenly erupted with its true power. With one sword, the blood saber shattered. His throat was cut. Xue Tu died. Even though he was dead, Xue Tu's eyes were still filled with horror and disbelief. Until his death, he did not understand how Ling Xiao had suddenly become so powerful. Even if everyone knew how to use demonic dragon possession, it should not be possible. He obviously did not know that under the tyrant, blood, demonic, dragon, martial, soul transformation state, every level of the demonic dragon's possession was twice as powerful. In other words, the first level could double, the second level could quadruple, and the third level could quadruple. This was obviously stronger than ordinary demonic dragon possession. In addition, the Blood Thunder Emperor sword was a mortal-grade Emperor weapon, while the saber in Xue Tu's hand was only a divine-grade spiritual weapon. They were not on the same level at all. It was normal for Ling Xiao to kill Xue Tuesday. There was nothing strange about it. The massacre is about to begin. A cold smile suddenly flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. The moment he killed Xue Tu was not the end, it was just the beginning. I gave you a chance, but unfortunately, you didn't know how to cherish it. All of you, get ready to be buried with Xue Tuesday what? No one expected that after Ling Xiao killed Xue Tu, he would choose to take the initiative to attack instead of taking advantage of their shock to turn around and escape. At that moment, sword chi gushed out. A biting cold light whistled in the air and instantly enveloped 7 or 8 people. They did not even have time to understand what had happened before they were instantly swallowed by the sword light. On everyone's throat, there was an additional trace of blood. A fatal trace of blood, directly attacking. What a domineering Ling Xiao. What a crazy Ling Xiao. He actually did not talk nonsense and directly attacked. He began to massacre the people of the Dark Dragon Group. These people from the Dark Dragon Group had come with orders and arrogance. They were ordered by Phoenix in the cloud to take Ling Xiao's life. They all thought that this was the best time to perform a meritorious service and also the key battle for them to come out from behind the scenes. They also thought that when Ling Xiao saw them, he would be so scared that his face would change drastically and his whole body would tremble. However, Ling Xiao gave them a surprise. Killing Xue too, and instantly destroying the 7 of them was as easy as swatting 7 mosquitoes. Stopping killing with killing and exchanging violence with violence. This was Ling Xiao's simplest and most direct philosophy. In this unreasonable world, in this world where the strong preyed on the weak, naively trying to persuade the other party through reason was not Ling Xiao's style. If he did not want to be killed by others, the most direct, simplest, and most effective way was to kill the other party. If the other party's descendants came to seek revenge, he would still kill their children. He would kill until no one came to find trouble with him. Anyway, even if he was benevolent and kind and let the other party go, the other party would still come to kill him. He was domineering and cruel. If he killed the other party would not be able to kill him. This multiple-choice question was very easy to choose. While they were shocked, Ling Xiao did not stop his killing. Basically, he killed at least one person with each sword strike. He was like a ghost in this dense forest. It was as if he was the grim reaper from hell. Bastard! The deputy leaders of the Dark Dragon Group were furious. Yang Hu was also furious. Although he was not a deputy leader, his cultivation had reached the 12th level of hell in the Yin-Yang realm. How could he watch Ling Xiao commit murder there and do nothing? The 4 of them attacked Ling Xiao almost at the same time. For waves of energy, with an incomparably terrifying aura of destruction, wanted to tear Ling Xiao into pieces. However, Ling Xiao only took a light step forward. Like a phantom demon dragon, he easily dodged the combined attacks of the 4 people and stabbed the sword in his hand into the throat of a member of the Dark Dragon Group. With his strange movement technique and powerful strength, Ling Xiao still did not have any fear in a group battle. Chapter 28:30. Even if the members of the Dark Dragon Group tried their best to resist, it was useless. What awaited them was only death. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. The rain on the ground had turned red. The entire ground seemed to have been injured and was moaning in pain. The sword light might not be bright, but it was fatal. People were constantly being killed. People were constantly falling into pools of blood, and people were constantly moaning in pain. People seemed to have forgotten who was going to kill who today. The killer had become the victim instead. The one who had been killed had become the killer. However, what puzzled Ling Xiao was that although the members of the Dark Dragon Group were constantly being killed, those people still pounced on him as if they were not afraid of death. It was as if death was nothing to them. Or perhaps they believed that they were immortal. It was as if they were deliberately feeding Ling Xiao to kill. It was as if they wanted to use these fearless death warriors to weaken his physical strength, internal strength, and soul power, make him tired, make him completely lose his combat strength. In this world, the most terrifying thing was not those who were stronger than you, but those who were not afraid of death. Because these people, if you couldn't kill them in one go, then they might bite you. Although it might not be fatal, it would definitely put you in a very dangerous situation. However, Ling Xiao's sword had never made a mistake. With the Tai Chi eye open, the entire space was under his control. He once again entered the mysterious realm of controlling heaven and earth. It seemed to be a casual and unintentional sword, but it never failed. The opponent was a death warrior, and he was more like a killing machine. Precise calculations without any mistakes. And he did not seem to be tired no matter what. In fact, among the many people, only the 3 deputy team leaders could really pose a threat to Ling Xiao. These 3 people, like Xue Tu, had rich combat experience and were powerful existences. Although Ling Xiao easily killed Xue Tu was courting death. However, that was just Xue Tu courting death. If the 4 of them had attacked together, Ling Xiao might not have had it so easy. He might even have been injured. Therefore, in the battle, Ling Xiao was always paying attention to the sneak attacks of the 3 people. Those 3 fellows, including Yang Hua, were all very cunning. Every time they attacked, it seemed like they were angry, but in reality it was always just right. They seemed to want those dark dragon death warriors to use their lives to delay Ling Xiao and then launch a sneak attack. However, Ling Xiao naturally had ways to guard against their sneak attacks. Now, Ling Xiao's priority was to get rid of these cannon fodders. His body instantly transformed into the purple thunder bull beast soul. Then, the entire ground began to shake. Almost all of the people who rushed towards him had all kinds of situations happen in that instant. Those who were close to it had their bodies shattered and died. Those who were further away also fainted on the ground. After that, Ling Xiao transformed into his 3-headed lava hound beast soul again. Scorching hell release. Boiling lava gushed out from the ground. The ferocious fire dragon slaughtered as it pleased in hell. The bloodthirsty magma monster roared and tore its enemies apart. In just a moment, close to 100 people around Ling Xiao were all swallowed up by the scorching hell and became sacrifices. This scene shocked the powerhouses of the Dark Dragon group. Ling Xiao was really powerful to the extent that it completely exceeded their expectations. Fortunately, when they came today, they were already fully prepared. Fortunately, they did not underestimate the enemy like that idiot Xue Tuesday otherwise. It would really be hard to say what would happen in today's battle. At a certain moment, there was not a single person within 100 meters of Ling Xiao. It was all boiling lava, but this time it did not last long. More people surrounded him from all directions. Like puppets being controlled, they came over one by one to die. It seemed that he was right. These people simply wanted to exhaust him to death. Otherwise, there was no need to throw their lives away like this. Attack! Yang Hu gave the order. Following his order, another 100 attacks bombarded Ling Xiao from different angles at the same time. These people did not care about consumption at all. They were basically going all out, because they only had one goal, and that was to exhaust Ling Xiao. There's really no end to this. To be on the safe side, Ling Xiao casually ate a blood spirit pill, although he was not tired yet and did not consume much energy yet. But it was never bad to be prepared early. Swallowing the blood spirit pill, he pointed his long sword. A streak of sword energy pierced out, instantly piercing through the bodies of 3 martial artists, cutting them in half at the waist. When he wanted to continue attacking, a dense swarm of arrows suddenly flew over from the sky. Like flying locusts, they wanted to shoot him into a hornet's nest. The sharp Ling Xiao detected that among these arrows there were actually some thin, wild silkworm, silk tied to the tails of the arrows. If not for the Tai Chi eye, he could not notice it at all. This kind of wild silkworm silk was not only incomparably sharp, but it was also virtually indestructible. It could be made into wild silkworm silk armor, and could even be made into a sharp weapon to kill people. Very easily, it could cut a person into pieces, cutting them into small pieces of meat. It really took a lot of effort, Phoenix in the cloud. But it's a pity the wild silkworm's silk can't withstand the divine fire in the end. Ling Xiao took out a refining array stone and threw it into the sky. In that instant, the tyrannical true Samadhi fire turned into a terrifying fire dragon and flew out of the refining array stone. In just an instant, it burned the countless arrows and wild silkworms' silk to ashes. However, with this delay, the killers on the ground approached again. Not only that, the 3 deputy team leaders, including Yang Hua, also launched an attack at the same time. They wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill him. The four people's attacks were divided into four angles. It was to seal off the angle that Ling Xiao used the Devil Dragon Phantom Movement technique, and the surrounding dark dragon group's kamikaze warriors held a fine net made of wild silkworm silk in their hands, not giving Ling Xiao a chance to escape. Kill! Apart from the sky and the ground, the surroundings were airtight. Ling Xiao frowned. The other party deliberately gave up these two escape routes. They must have other intentions. Did they really think that he would fall for it? From the beginning of the battle, he felt it. Although he could not confirm it, there was always a very dangerous aura staring at him. This person's concealment level was very high, so much so that even his Tai Chi eye could not capture it. But many years of battle experience gave him an intuition that was absolutely sensitive to danger. The sky won't work. The ground won't work either. Then break through head-on. Ling Xiao looked at Yang Hua. It seemed like all of the kamikaze warriors were commanded by this Yang Hua. His strength was not the strongest, but his identity was not ordinary. Suddenly, he rushed towards Yang Hua, as if he did not see the wild silkworm silk net in front of him. Yang Hua smiled coldly, waiting to see the outcome of Ling Xiao's body being cut into pieces. Chapter 28:31. Yang Hua watched helplessly. Just as Ling Xiao was about to touch the heavenly silkworm net, he actually vanished. Demonic Dragon Phantom, Nether Demonic Dragon. The Nether Demonic Dragon form could ignore all physical objects. Of course, it could not attack. Although the wild silk net was powerful, it could not hurt him. While Yang Hua was still in shock, Ling Xiao's figure had already appeared beside him. The Blood Thunder Imperial Sword in his hand pierced through the bodies of two dark dragon men of sacrifice at a very strange angle and finally pierced into Yang Hua's throat. Since you want to die, why should I spare you? Ling Xiao should have been happy to kill Yang Hua. However, at this moment he was not happy at all. Instead, he felt a gloomy chill in his body. He felt a chill down his spine. It was like a venomous snake staring at him from a short distance, sticking out its tongue and baring its sharp fangs. This guy really picked the right time. The moment Ling Xiao showed himself and killed Yang Hua, Ling Xiao was already squeezed between the men of sacrifice. He had no room to dodge at all. This terrifying assassin just had to launch an attack at this very moment. Ling Xiao could even feel a sharp blade inching closer and closer to his back. Although this person's strength was slightly weaker than the three deputy team leaders, it was on par with Yang Hua. However, this guy was far more of a threat to him than the three deputy team leaders. As the saying went, it was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but difficult to defend against a stab in the dark. Even Ling Xiao was no exception. If I can't dodge, I'll blast you out. Ling Xiao frowned and immediately channeled inner strength under his feet. Earth-splitting body. A terrifying explosion came directly from the ground. In an instant, more than 10 people with Ling Xiao as the center were directly blasted into meat paste. However, that venomous snake was still unharmed. His reaction speed was very fast, and he actually dodged this almost impossible to avoid attack. Even so, he had already missed the best opportunity to kill Ling Xiao. Therefore, he once again went underground and waited for an opportunity to make his move. But would Ling Xiao give him the chance? The inner force beneath his feet circulated once again, and an even more terrifying explosion erupted around him. It was still earth-splitting corpse, but it was much more powerful than before. Obviously, Ling Xiao was a little annoyed. With such a venomous snake staring at him, he would always feel like there was a thorn in his back. This time, everything within a 10-meter radius around him completely exploded. Another 20 men of sacrifice were killed by the explosion. However, that poisonous snake actually managed to dodge it. Not only that, but the three deputy team leaders had also approached Ling Xiao. He tried to stall Ling Xiao so that the poisonous snake could escape. Since you're here, let's die together. Earth explosion. The second level of the Earth Demon's secret technique required the user to send their soul power into the ground to control the earth element. The explosion was even more terrifying than the Earth dismemberment technique, and it lasted longer. Amidst a series of explosions, the 3 deputy team leaders had no choice but to dodge. As for the poisonous snake underground, it was finally blown out. Although he wasn't dead, he was injured. Kill. Ling Xiao didn't want to give him any chance to survive. Stepping on the demonic dragon phantom, his body turned into a sword light and flew forward. Demonic dragon phantom, demonic sword dragon. Whoosh! A terrifying scene appeared. Ling Xiao's body was like a sharp sword, directly piercing through the poisonous snake's body and splitting it in two. Although the poisonous snake's eyes were already split open, there was still an incomparable shock and fear in his eyes. At that moment, he felt an unimaginable sense of fear. The scene in his eyes gradually split in two and then completely disappeared. Until his death, he didn't even touch Ling Xiao. Naturally, he couldn't let out a scream. Ling Xiao's attack this time was aimed at killing him in one blow. Around him, the men of sacrifice who were originally fearless finally started to feel afraid. Facing this demonic young man, their fear increased little by little. Originally, if the poisonous snake didn't die, they still had a chance to kill Ling Xiao. However, their biggest trump card was so easily killed by Ling Xiao. What could they use to support their inner courage? Not to mention them, the 3 deputy team leaders also felt their hearts twitching nonstop. How could this young man be so terrifying? How could it be? They could be afraid, but they definitely shouldn't be in a trance. This momentary trance was enough to be fatal. The 3 of them saw Ling Xiao turn back. It was a golden light that surpassed their vision. Then, one of them heard the screams of his comrades on both sides. When he looked again, there was a bloody mark on the throats of the 2 men. His eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, stood less than 2 meters away from him. He was so scared that he turned around and fled. After retreating dozens of meters away and being protected by the men of sacrifice, he felt a little bit of warmth. Ling Xiao stood there, and there was not a single wound on his body. There were only a few more tears on his clothes. Those bone-chilling and terrifying eyes were staring at him with a smile that wasn't a smile, as if the devil was mocking him. This guy was a real devil. The heart of the remaining deputy team leader began to twitch violently, giving him an impulse to run away. He thought that he had long lost his fear, but today the young man in front of him once again brought fear to him and implanted it into his body. Where is that old dog phoenix in the cloud? Ling Xiao didn't immediately make a move. His cold voice came from his mouth. His cold gaze was like a sharp sword aura, piercing all the enemies. He knew that Phoenix in the cloud was the main culprit. If Phoenix in the cloud didn't die, such things would definitely happen again. If he didn't have so many trump cards, he would have lost his life on the spot in today's battle. Thinking about it, Phoenix in the cloud must be very surprised that the Dark Dragon group had almost turned out in full force, but they still couldn't kill Ling Xiao. The deputy team leader looked at Ling Xiao in horror, as if he was wondering why Ling Xiao was still not exhausted. Why was there not a single wound on his body after fighting until now? What was this young man's cultivation level? Was there a mistake in the information about Phoenix in the cloud? Kill. Ling Xiao didn't get an answer for a long time, so he said these words coldly. Then he swung his sword. A few more men of sacrifice were killed. Fresh blood mixed with the rain and dyed the ground red. My cultivation level has increased again. It seems that this battle wasn't in vain. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. He suddenly hoped that Phoenix in the cloud would send more people over. This battle had increased his cultivation level by 30%, although there was still a certain distance to the later stage of the 12th level of hell in the yin-yang transformation state. But as long as it could be improved, there was no need to be afraid that he couldn't break through. Moreover, the martial arts techniques he used had improved to a certain extent. Chapter 28 32. The earth-splitting corpse move's range suddenly increased, and its power also increased at the same time. This was because it had reached perfection. The second layer's earth explosion corpse had also reached proficiency because it had been perfectly executed. The demonic dragon phantom had the greatest improvement. He had successfully used it many times, allowing him to avert danger. At the same time, it had also reached perfection. The first layer of demonic dragon possession had also reached perfection. The second layer had also reached proficiency because he had just broken through. In any case, Ling Xiao had gained quite a lot from this battle. This made him want to fight a few more battles. Clearly feeling Ling Xiao's aura increase, the deputy team leader had completely lost the confidence to resist. There were so many people before, but none of them had a chance to win against Ling Xiao, who was not as strong as he was now. How could they win now? If I tell you, will you spare my life? The deputy team leader clenched his teeth and suddenly asked. Under Ling Xiao's terrifying aura, he finally changed his mind. Ling Xiao's face revealed a mocking and disdainful expression. He despised this kind of person the most. You have no right to negotiate with me. If you tell me, I'll give you a quick death. If you don't, I'll make you wish you were dead. Bloodthirsty plague, activate. When he killed the two deputy team leaders, Ling Xiao had already released the bloodthirsty plague germs on this guy's body. Now that it was activated, the terrifying pain of having tens of thousands of worms biting his heart made this deputy team leader kneel on the ground. No. Stop, I'll tell you. If he wished he was dead, he might as well die. The most frightening thing was not death, but the pain of not being able to die even if he wanted to. The bloodthirsty plague was not only a good way to kill the enemy, but also a good way to interrogate. Speak. With a thought, Ling Xiao temporarily stopped the bloodthirsty plague's torture on this guy. Phoenix in the Cloud is at Demonic Dragon Mountain, the deputy team leader said. What is he doing at Demonic Dragon Mountain? Ling Xiao continued to ask. You should know this best. He wants the demonic dragon sword. Alone? No. He and a few of his sworn brothers are all here. Every one of them is an extremely powerful Jianghu hero. They are even stronger than us, including our team leader. At this point, he said sadly, I've already said what I need to say. I only ask that you give me a quick death. Sure. The moment the sword was drawn, the person would die. There was still a conspicuous bloodstain on his throat. With all the vice team leaders dead, the Death Warriors had long lost the will to continue fighting. Howling in horror, he turned around and fled. Seeing those people flee, Ling Xiao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He hurriedly found a more secluded place, sat down, and began to heal his injuries. That look just now was just an act. In fact, although he did not suffer any external injuries in today's battle, he had suffered internal injuries because he had forcefully circulated his inner energy several times. This was the reason why he didn't kill them all. If the last vice team leader had been braver and braver, risking the pain of the bloodthirsty plague to attack together with the Death Warriors, Ling Xiao would probably have had to run for his life. Unfortunately, he was frightened by Ling Xiao's aura and lost his life for nothing. At the same time, in Demonic Dragon Mountain, Phoenix in the Cloud, whose body was completely rebuilt with metal, was looking for the location of the demonic dragon sword with some of his Jianghu friends. This Demonic Dragon Mountain was neither big nor small. It was not that easy to find the demonic dragon sword. Otherwise, with Demonic Dragon Mountain here, why was the demonic dragon sword not stolen? Was it because of the people guarding Demonic Dragon Mountain? Those people were not too strong. At this time, their corpses were already lying outside the mountain. They were probably eaten by wild beasts. Looking at the time, there should be a reply. Phoenix in the Cloud suddenly stopped what he was doing and looked into the distance as if he wanted to see something. Brother Yin, don't worry. You know the strength of the Dark Dragon group the best. With so many people attacking together, Lin Xiao will definitely die. The one who spoke was the leader of the Dark Dragon group. Looking at him, he looked somewhat similar to the first elder. They should be brother and sister. His hatred for Ling Xiao was definitely real, and it was urgent. Yes, I believe in the strength of the Dark Dragon Group. Ling Xiao will definitely not live. Phoenix in the Cloud could not think of any accidents. As long as the Dark Dragon Group's actions were not wrong, Ling Xiao would definitely die. At this time, a figure floated over from the distance. He was very fast and very anxious. As soon as that person appeared, Phoenix in the Cloud asked anxiously, "How is it? Did you bring back Ling Xiao's head?" He was actually asking the obvious. There was nothing in the other person's hand. That person hesitated for a moment and finally sighed helplessly. The Dark Dragon Group was almost completely wiped out. The 4 vice team leaders, including Yang Hua, have all died in battle. The remaining members of the Dark Dragon Group fled for their lives. The Dark Dragon Group was destroyed. What about Ling Xiao? Is Ling Xiao dead? Phoenix in the Cloud did not seem to care about the survival of the Dark Dragon Group. He only wanted Ling Xiao to die. If he could exchange the Dark Dragon Group for Ling Xiao's life, he felt that it was worth it. Ling Xiao unharmed. That person sighed and said, What happened? Did reinforcements come? Did Qin Bai make a move? That's impossible. The demonic dragon city should have been surrounded by the Qin Kingdom's army. Qin Bai can't save Ling Xiao even if he has wings. Phoenix in the Cloud could not figure out who saved Ling Xiao. In his imagination, Ling Xiao did not have the ability to eliminate so many people from the Dark Dragon Group. There were no reinforcements. They were all killed by Ling Xiao alone. That person said something shocking again. What? At this moment, a trace of fear appeared in Phoenix in the Cloud's heart. Ling Xiao did not die after being surrounded by such a powerful army? That was simply unbelievable. Could it be that that kid was hiding some secret that he did not know? Vice Sect Leader, we have to avenge our brothers. The leader of the Dark Dragon Group said angrily. Yes, revenge. That Ling Xiao will definitely come to the demonic Dragon Mountain. This will be his burial ground. Phoenix in the Cloud knew that he still had a chance, and this chance was in the demonic Dragon Mountain. Ling Xiao came for the demonic dragon sword. Even if he knew that there was an ambush here with that guy's personality, he would definitely not turn back. Therefore, as long as everything was prepared here, Ling Xiao would definitely walk into the trap. In the Chen Kingdom, if there was anyone who knew the demonic dragon mountain the best, it would be Qin Bai. Only the Yamada family knew. The Yamada family had been living on the demonic dragon mountain since before the dragon cult was born. Only they knew why this place was called the demonic dragon mountain. Only they knew how terrifying the demonic dragon sword was. Qin Bai was the first to take out and use the demonic dragon sword, but the people of the Yamada family knew. Chapter 2833. The demon dragon sword was actually not a single sword, but 10 swords. 1 mother sword and 9 sub-swords. The mother and son were connected. As long as one held the mother sword, they could easily control the 9 sub-swords. What Qin Bai had previously obtained was only a sub-sword. A mere sub-sword was already a top-notch, mortal grade emperor artifact. In that case, what grade of magic treasure was the mother sword? To be honest, only the Yamada family knew. Actually, from the outside, one could see that there were 9 small mountains around the main peak of the Demon Dragon Mountain. The Yamada family's history recorded the true origin of the Demon Dragon Sword. Back then, 2 peerless experts fought here. One of them was the great demon who possessed the Josie Demon Dragon Sword, while the other was an expert from the Golden Heavenly Nation. He was also the first ancestor of the Yamada family. The 2 of them fought here for 10 days and 10 nights. In the end, the great demon was killed. The Josie Demon Dragon Sword transformed into 10 mountains with the mental power of the demon before he died. The expert from the Golden Heavenly Nation was also seriously injured, and his strength was greatly reduced. He knew that he did not have much time left and that it was impossible for him to return to the golden, heavenly nation. Thus, he gave birth to children here. 10 years later, he passed away. One had to know that with his cultivation, it would not be a problem for him to live for another few hundred years. Before he died, he used the last of his strength to seal the 10 mountains. From then on, the Yamada family became the guardians of these 10 mountains. Unfortunately, the descendants of the Yamada family failed to live up to expectations and submitted to the dragon cult. Thus, this place belonged to the dragon cult. Suddenly, the 10 mountains began to shake violently. The patriarch of the Yamada family, Yamada Akashi, looked in that direction in horror. What's going on? Didn't you say that the seal of the demon dragon sword is very strong? The one who asked was Phoenix in the cloud. It turned out that Yamada Akashi had already secretly formed an alliance with Phoenix in the cloud. Now, they were trying to crack the secret of the demon dragon sword together. However, before they could do anything, the 10 mountains that sealed the Jozi demon dragon sword began to shake violently. This I don't know either. Who could actually loosen the seal? Yamada Akashi was also very shocked. Could it be that Ling Xiao? Since he is Chanbai's disciple, he must know the shortcut to enter Demon Dragon Mountain. The leader of the Dark Dragon group frowned. Rumble. At this moment, in the distance, at the top of the sky, black clouds suddenly floated over. The originally bright sky instantly turned dark, as if the entire sky was about to collapse. Then, lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and strong winds blew. The earth began to shake. It doesn't matter if it's Ling Xiao or not. We must stop him. Quick, speed up. We must break the restriction before that brat obtains the demon dragon sword. Seeing this, Phoenix in the cloud became even more nervous. Originally, that brat Ling Xiao was already quite terrifying. If that fellow were to obtain the 9 Suns demonic dragon sword, wouldn't that be even more difficult to deal with? Understood, it's almost there. Yamada Zhang didn't waste any more time and began to break the restriction. This seal was left behind by his ancestor. Although there was no way to break it, there were still some clues left behind. After so many years, the Yamada family had not wasted their time. They had managed to find a way to break the seal. It was just a little bit away. If it weren't for the fact that Phoenix in the cloud urgently wanted to break the seal this time, Yamada Zhang planned to wait for a while longer. Legend has it that only martial artists who possess dark attribute internal energy that permeates the sky can make the demon dragon sword feel evil and powerful. Only then can they stimulate the demon dragon sword to break the seal. Could that Ling Xiao be a devil? The leader of the Dark Dragon group asked. That brat can indeed be called a devil. He kills without batting an eye. Moreover, he might really have mastered dark attribute, internal energy. I've had this feeling in the few times I've fought him. Phoenix in the cloud gritted his teeth and said, the more it was like this, the more worried he was. In fact, Ling Xiao possessed shadow profound internal energy, which was of a higher level than dark attribute internal energy. Moreover, before Ling Xiao entered the cycle of reincarnation, he had cultivated a demonic body and refined a demonic creature. He and the demon dragon sword could be said to be the most perfect combination among all the martial artists in the Qin country. They were even more compatible than Qinbai. At this moment, the 10 mountains shook even more violently. In the sky, thick black clouds were constantly rolling and blood-red thunderbolts were striking down from the sky. The entire world seemed to have sunk into doomsday. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their own fingers. A terrifying and oppressive aura enveloped the entire Demon Dragon Mountain. The demonic beasts in the Demon Dragon Mountain were all lying on the ground, trembling. Even Phoenix in the cloud and the others had to circulate their internal energy to resist the terrifying, oppressive aura. Otherwise, they would really vomit blood on the spot. Kacha! A strange light pierced through the black clouds and pierced the sky. It was sharp and powerful. It was definitely a sword intent. A terrifying sword intent that could destroy everything in its path. When this sword intent appeared, Phoenix in the cloud, Yamada Zhang, and the others didn't dare to move. This was because they were afraid that if they moved, they would be killed by the terrifying sword intent. At this moment, Ling Xiao was cooperating with the terrifying sword intent of the demon dragon sword to fight against the power of the seal left behind by a powerhouse. This powerhouse should be the ancestor of the Yamada family from the Golden Heavenly Nation. If it was a one-on-one battle, he could naturally suppress the Jozi demon dragon sword. However, now that Ling Xiao was involved and the demonic aura was soaring to the sky, he was gradually unable to hold on. The little remaining spiritual energy began to dissipate gradually. In the end, it completely disappeared. At this moment, Ling Xiao was not relaxed. He had completely resolved the power of the seal, but the Jozi demon dragon sword was not willing to be easily controlled by him. The sharp and evil sword intent was constantly pressing toward him, wanting to completely subdue him. However, this sword intent did not hurt him. It only wanted to destroy his spiritual sea and then control his body. Evil creature, I knew you would do this, so I made preparations. Activate the Lesser Myriad Lightning Immortal Slaying formation. The formation was activated and attracted the lightning in the sky. Bolts of divine lightning constantly bombarded the sword intent of the demon dragon sword. The demon dragon sword had weakened a lot after resisting the power of the seal. Now that it was bombarded by the divine lightning, it was naturally injured again. However, even so, Ling Xiao was still under a lot of pressure. Sweat dripped down his cheeks and hair and fell to the ground. He stared at the pitch-black sword intent in the sky. There were also the 10 mountains that were constantly shaking. The mountains were crumbling. The more they crumbled, the stronger the sword intent of the demon dragon sword became. However, because Ling Xiao was prepared in advance, every time the sword intent appeared, a layer was destroyed by the divine lightning. It could not completely condense. However, the moment the 10 mountains completely cracked, a pitch-black demonic dragon appeared in the sky under the black clouds. The demonic dragon instantly condensed and turned into a huge pitch-black sword. Chapter 2834. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a look of surprise. He stood on the peak of the mountain under the black clouds. He could strongly feel the cruelty, indifference, and arrogance of the demon dragon sword. Demon. This was a person falling into the demonic path because of extreme emotions. But would Ling Xiao be afraid? He had the bloodline power of the true heavenly demon. He had once completely refined the heavenly demon king that had been injected into his glabella in the White Tiger continent and turned it into his own power, although most of the power had been integrated into his cells and stored. However, in terms of demonic energy, how could an ordinary demon compare to a true heavenly demon? Ling Xiao could feel that the demonic intent in his body was constantly rising. The terrifying heavenly demon power was constantly released from his cells, urging his cultivation to speed up. He liked this kind of pressure. Only under such terrifying pressure could he grow and become stronger. Boom, boom, crack. Suddenly the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The world seemed to be shaken by a terrifying giant. It began to tremble and let out a thick, sorrowful cry. The 10 mountain peaks in front of him all exploded. The gravel was directly blasted into powder, forming a huge sandstorm. It enveloped the 10 mountain peaks. They came out. There were actually 10 swords. Ling Xiao thought that there was only one demon dragon sword, but he did not expect 10 to fly out at once. 9 of the swords were as black as ink jade. Under their ferocious appearance, they exuded an extremely terrifying aura. They suddenly flew into the sky and bloomed with a black luster, like a black sun. The terrifying demonic intent was constantly blooming. The most terrifying thing was not these 9 swords, but the huge 2-handed sword that was surrounded by the 9 swords. The sword was close to 2 meters long. The huge sword body was as black and ferocious, but the demonic intent that it emitted was even more terrifying. These 10 swords seemed to be connected by blood. Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eye could see that there was an energy connection between the 9 sub-swords and the mother sword that was so small that it was almost invisible to the Tai Chi eye. It was dark red like blood. It's time. Ling Xiao knew that at this moment he had to subdue the 18 demon dragon swords with all his might. Otherwise, not only would he fail, but he would also die. These 10 swords were definitely not good. Boom! A pitch-black universe suddenly appeared behind Ling Xiao. He released his tyrannical martial spirit and quickly expanded its range. The entire sky and the entire mountain range were enveloped by this vast universe. In the universe of Tyrant, Ling Xiao was the only one who reigned supreme. Vile spawn, hurry up and submit. Ling Xiao roared. In the dark universe, there was a huge human shadow waving a palm that could destroy countless stars. It slapped towards the 10 swords. At this moment, the 18 demon swords actually began to tremble. Even though their demonic intents were overflowing, they still lost the ability to resist under the suppression of the tyrannical intent in the tyrannical universe. In an instant, all 10 swords fell to the ground. He appeared in the Mountain River world. The Mountain River world was only a part of the tyrannical universe. It was made up of the Sky Dragon continent, the Divine Phoenix continent, the White Tiger continent, and a small part of the Black Tortoise continent. The 10 swords formed 10 mountain peaks within the Mountain River world. They were identical to the demonic Dragon Mountain in the outside world. However, Ling Xiao could feel that as long as he was willing, he could summon these 10 swords at any time. He could feel that the 9 sub-swords were indeed ordinary Great Emperor weapons. However, Ling Xiao was unable to distinguish the grade of the origin sword. However, he was certain that the origin sword was definitely stronger than the 9 sub-swords. So you're called the 9 Suns Demon Dragon Sword. No wonder there are 10 of them. The moment Ling Xiao subdued the 9 Suns Demon Dragon Sword, he knew everything about it. 9 Suns Demon Dragon Sword, come. He raised his hand, and a huge black sword appeared in his hand. It was the origin sword. The 9 sub-swords actually revolved around his body, like flying swords. It was very magical. Ling Xiao had also cultivated the imperial sword technique in the past. However, it was only the lowest level. Because its power was not enough, he could only control ordinary weapons. He did not use it again later. However, he had to admit that if he could control flying swords, it would definitely be impossible for the enemy to guard against. As he held the demonic dragon sword in his hand, Ling Xiao could feel that the sword was connected to his soul. It was as if the sword had already become a part of him. Even the slightest bit of energy fluctuation on the sword was so clear and real. Ling Xiao knew very well that he who controlled the 9 Suns Demon Dragon Sword already had the strength of a top expert in the Qin Nation. Although he did not know if there were any hidden experts in the Qin Nation, at the very least, he should not be weaker than Qinbai now. With the 9 Suns Demon Dragon Sword, he also had the strength to run amok. Phoenix in the cloud, didn't you set up an ambush for me in the Demon Dragon Mountain? Then I'll let you have a taste of what fear is. Ling Xiao knew that the time for his revenge had arrived. Whether it was Phoenix in the cloud or the Qin Nation's royal family, it was time to end it. My cultivation is only 20% away from breaking through. I should first comprehend the demon dragon scripture and the imperial celestial dragon body. As soon as he thought about it, a vivid image appeared in his mind. In the image, a person wielded a huge sword and danced, releasing powerful sword moves. However, it was not the demon dragon scripture that Chunbai mentioned, nor was it the imperial celestial dragon body. It was a new set of martial skills, and it was a 4th level immortal grade martial skill, True Demon Sword Essence. This True Demon Sword Essence was a martial skill that the true demon emperor of the true demon empire had casually imparted to a disciple when he conquered the Black Tortoise continent. However, that disciple could not fully grasp the sword skill that he had casually imparted. He only grasped about 10% of it. In the end, after modification, it became a 4th level immortal grade sword skill, true demon sword essence. With this sword skill, the disciple became a famous demon in the Qin nation. Later on, he even established his own sect in the Golden Heavenly Nation. Although this sword technique had become useless, the great demon was still reluctant to give it up. If I want to learn the true demon sword essence, I can't learn the demon dragon scripture and the imperial celestial dragon body. Ling Xiao was already connected to the 9 Suns demon dragon sword, so he naturally knew this point. He also knew that this demon dragon sword contained another set of even more terrifying sword skills. It was a pity that his cultivation was not enough and could not comprehend it. I'll choose you, true demon sword essence. If there's a good one, I'll naturally learn it. A 4th level immortal grade martial skill, even if it's only cultivated to the initial stage, can crush a 3rd level immortal grade martial skill. Ling Xiao made his decision. Then, the moves of the true demon sword essence began to appear in his mind. This true demon sword essence only had a total of 4 moves. However, the difficulty of cultivating each move was 10 times that of a 3rd level immortal grade martial skill. Ling Xiao was originally afraid that he would not be able to successfully comprehend it, but the Tai Chi Eye gave him another surprise. Chapter 28:35. The first move of the true devil sword essence was actually very simple. It was called True Devil Sword Chi. It could kill people from a distance. Moreover, the sword chi contained a terrifying demonic aura that could cause fear and negative emotions in the enemy's mind. This move was easy to learn because the so-called True Devil Sword Chi was actually infusing one's inner strength into the demon dragon sword and then changing its attribute to release a special sword chi. Ling Xiao felt that as long as he used it a few more times in battle, this move would soon reach perfection or even perfection. As for the last 3 moves, they were not so easy. After all, they were immortal grade 4th heaven martial arts techniques. They were much stronger than immortal grade 3rd heaven martial arts techniques. Perhaps Ling Xiao would only be able to start cultivating them after his cultivation broke through to the Yin-Yang realm's 13th level of hell. However, even if it was just one move, it had many uses. The True Devil Sword Chi could be infused into an existing move and could greatly increase the power of an existing move. It was not impossible to raise the power of an existing move by 1 level. In this way, even if he could not cultivate the last 3 moves of the True Devil Sword Essence, he had absolute confidence in exchanging blows with the strongest person in the Qin Kingdom's royal family. Thinking of this, he sneered, "Qin Kingdom's royal family, you owe my good brother Ling Yan and me. It's time to pay back everything. You were the ones who chased after me. Now, it's time for me to settle the score." Someone was coming. Just as he was thinking of finding someone to test the power of the True Devil Sword Chi, someone came knocking on his door, for people appeared in front of him. He knew Phoenix in the cloud. However, he did not know the other 3. However, there was no doubt that they were all experts. Although 2 of them had lower cultivation than Phoenix in the cloud, they had reached the peak of the Yin-Yang realm's 12th level of hell. However, they were not as strong as Phoenix in the cloud. The last person was a martial artist at the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm's 12th level of hell. However, he was stronger than the 4 deputy team leaders of the Dark Dragon group. They had the same cultivation, but stronger combat power. There must be something special about this person. "You are Ling Xiao." It was precisely the weakest person among them who shouted at Ling Xiao. The other 3 sealed off the 3 directions that Ling Xiao could escape in. "And who are you?" Ling Xiao asked. "I am Xue Zhan, and Xue too is my younger brother." That person's roar was filled with incomparable hatred. "So it's that idiot's brother. But what do you want?" Ling Xiao asked again. "What are you doing? You have 2 choices now. First, hand over the demon dragon sword and submit to Vice Sect Master Yin. Then, accept his puppet surgery. The second one will die." Xue Zhan sneered. "What if I don't choose? Ling Xiao looked at Bloody Battle with a smile that was not a smile and said, "Your brain is as stupid as your younger brother's brain. Before I obtained the demon dragon sword, I killed him. Although you are stronger than him, you are not much stronger. In front of me, who possesses the demon dragon sword, you still dare to speak such nonsense. Do you want to die?" The moment his voice fell, Ling Xiao slashed out with the demon dragon sword in his hand. A ray of sword chi, true devil sword chi. It flew out from the tip of the sword, and it was more than a foot wide. That powerful aura actually made Shuezhan tremble involuntarily. "Dodge!" Phoenix in the cloud roared. Unfortunately, the speed of the true devil sword chi was not something that ordinary sword chi could compare to. Once it stabbed out, it was impossible for that guy to dodge it unless he blocked it. Ah, blood saber, wild dance. Shuezhan also used a blood saber. His choice was correct. He knew that he could not dodge it, so he blocked it. This strategy was correct, but unfortunately he was too weak. "How dare you!" Shuezhan was a member of the Dark Dragon Group. At this time, when the Dark Dragon Group's patriarch saw this scene, he roared and directly rushed towards Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao only smiled contemptuously. He stepped out with the Demon Dragon Phantom Movement technique and pounced towards Yamada Zhang. He did not look at Bloody Battle at all, because he knew that Shuezhan would not survive. The true Devil Sword Chi was more terrifying than he had imagined. It was fast. It was powerful. It also had a deterrent and other negative effects. It was simply too powerful. Among the four people, Yamada Zhang's cultivation was only slightly higher than Shuezhan's. Ling Xiao naturally had his reasons for choosing him. "Brother Yamada, be careful of that brat," the Dark Dragon Group's patriarch roared. However, he found that his speed could not catch up to Ling Xiao. At this time, Phoenix in the cloud finally made his move. Ling Xiao had already predicted that he would make his move. The 9 demon dragon swords that surrounded his body suddenly shot out and all rushed towards Phoenix in the cloud. Just at this time, a scream was heard. Shuezhan was already split into 2 by the demon-suppressing sword chi and died miserably on the spot. The others were attracted by the scream, but Ling Xiao still rushed towards Yamada Zhang. "Brat, do you really think that this old man is made of mud?" Yamada Zhang was furious. In any case, he was already old and his cultivation had already reached the peak of Yin-Yang Realm Level 12. How could he be willing to be treated as a soft persimmon by Ling Xiao? In that instant, the sword martial spirit appeared behind him. A sharp sword appeared in his hand, and he stabbed towards Ling Xiao. The 2 swords collided in the air. However, a terrifying true devil sword chi climbed onto Yamada Zhang's sword like a poisonous snake and directly chopped off Yamada Zhang's wrist. Ah! A mournful scream was heard again. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao was actually fighting 1 against 4. He even killed one of them and broke the other's wrist. This kind of strength was truly shocking. "Brother Yin, protect Brother Yamada. I'll kill him." The Dark Dragon Group's patriarch could no longer tolerate Ling Xiao. Not only did he kill everyone in his Dark Dragon Group, leaving him as a general without an army, he actually dared to kill his people in front of him. This was simply unforgivable. Ling Xiao noticed that the surroundings seemed to be covered by a strange black gas, forming a huge cocoon-like thing that wrapped him and the Dark Dragon Group's patriarch inside. Although this patriarch had not been able to catch up to Ling Xiao and save Shuezhan, it was not as if he did not do anything. "My martial soul isn't something powerful. It's just something like this. But there's one thing. If you can't kill me, you'll never be able to escape from here. If you don't believe me, you can try." The Dark Dragon Group's patriarch looked coldly at Ling Xiao. His martial spirit was a special martial spirit. It was formless but useful. Ling Xiao tried to use the True Devil Sword Chi to chop it twice. As expected, he was unable to break it. He had also tried to escape, but he had failed. He could not even break it, because this was not a formation. It was the Dark Dragon Group's patriarch's special martial spirit. All right, since you're courting death, I'll kill you. Ling Xiao was carefree. If he could not get out, then he would kill the other party. This way he could at least get out, right? I'm afraid you don't have the ability. The Dark Dragon Group's patriarch roared angrily. His body actually seemed to expand by a lot. A pair of black dragon wings even grew out from his back. Looks like your martial spirit is not simple. Chapter 2836. Ling Xiao noticed that after this guy's body grew bigger, his strength, defense, and speed had all improved greatly. It's too late to find out now. Otherwise, why do you think I would dare to fight you one-on-one? The leader of the Dark Dragon Group took a step forward. His body, which was close to 3 meters tall, was like a small giant. He stood above Ling Xiao and looked down at Ling Xiao. Powerful and arrogant. Go to hell. The leader of the Dark Dragon Group did not waste any more words. The moment his transformation was completed, he launched an attack. He suddenly soared into the air, and then his entire body seemed to have turned into a meteorite, directly smashing towards Ling Xiao. This kind of fighting method was definitely used by people who were extremely confident in their own defense. It was crazy to use one's own body as a weapon to kill the enemy. Ling Xiao raised his head to look at that body. It was like a giant beast. Its entire body was filled with power and wildness. This guy, what exactly is he? He doesn't seem to be human. Ling Xiao frowned, but he did not dodge, let alone retreat. He held the demon dragon sword tightly with both hands and aimed at the huge monster in the sky. In the demon dragon sword, demonic energy soared into the sky and killing intent soared. The sword intent soared into the sky. Kill! The sword pierced upwards, directly piercing the huge body. Bang! Rumble! The huge body of the leader of the Dark Dragon Group collided with Ling Xiao's demon dragon sword. At that moment, space was distorted. It's a pity that my cultivation is not enough. In the end, I can't unleash the true power of this demon dragon sword. Ling Xiao sighed. The current demon dragon sword in his hand was about the same power as the Blood Thunder Emperor sword. The only thing that was stronger was the true devil's sword chi. Furthermore, it would be sharper. Otherwise, this collision would definitely be able to directly pierce through the leader of the Dark Dragon Group. However, now that huge body actually released a terrifying power. Ling Xiao's hands that were holding the sword actually let out a sorrowful cry. His legs began to sink into the ground. What terrifying power! What race is he? Yamada Akashi asked Phoenix in the cloud, who was beside him. He was so engrossed in the battle that he forgot that he had lost an arm. Before the human monarch unified the mystic world, the ferocious beasts ruled the vast mystic world. One of the terrifying beasts was the mammoth. It resembled a war elephant, but its body was even larger, and its strength was even more terrifying. He is a descendant of the mammoth race who has awakened the mammoth bloodline. Phoenix in the cloud replied, his martial soul doesn't have much attack power, but combined with his terrifying bloodline, he has never been defeated in a one-on-one battle. Even I don't dare to fight him head-on. If I had known that Ling Xiao was so strong, I would have sent him to intercept and kill him. A Ling Xiao without the demon dragon sword is obviously easier to deal with. How domineering! As expected of the mammoth race. Ling Xiao also heard Phoenix in the cloud's words. He knew that this couldn't go on. He suddenly put away the demon dragon sword and used the demon dragon phantom movement technique. He instantly retreated dozens of steps and avoided the terrifying attack. At the same time, the Dark Dragon Group leader's huge body smashed into the ground. At that moment, the ground actually cracked, flipped over, and broke into pieces. You still want to escape? The Dark Dragon Group leader didn't give Ling Xiao a chance to catch his breath. He flapped his huge dragon wings, and his sturdy body was like a nimble bird. He instantly arrived in front of Ling Xiao. Then he slapped down with both hands, wanting to kill Ling Xiao on the spot like a mosquito. Ling Xiao had no choice but to continue retreating. The Dark Dragon Group leader's attack followed like a shadow. Pa! His hands finally clapped together, less than 3 meters away from Ling Xiao. That terrifying sound made Ling Xiao feel as if his eardrums were about to shatter. The most terrifying thing was the gale created by the clapping of his hands. It was like a knife that cut Ling Xiao's body, leaving dozens of wounds. Previously, when he killed so many people from the Dark Dragon group, he wasn't injured. But now, facing the leader alone, he was already injured. It was enough to show how terrifying the Dark Dragon group leader was. Seeing this, the corners of Phoenix in the cloud's mouth finally raised into a sneer. The Dark Dragon group leader wasn't so easy to deal with. In terms of talent, he was already very strong. However, this guy was also very hardworking. He cultivated his heaven-defying bloodline to become very powerful. Coupled with that magical martial soul, Ling Xiao wouldn't be able to escape this time. Obediently accept your death. In my space, you have no chance of escaping. Seeing Ling Xiao retreating, the Dark Dragon group leader sneered and attacked even more fiercely. That huge palm was like a fly swatter, continuously slapping down. The ground was constantly shattered. It kept cracking. Ling Xiao didn't even have a place to stand. He had to use the demonic dragon phantom movement technique to constantly dodge. As expected, it's still a bit troublesome for me to deal with a martial artist at the peak of the 12th level of hell. What's more, this Dark Dragon group leader has probably reached the peak of the 12th level of hell. Coupled with that terrifying mammoth bloodline, not only is his skin rough and his flesh thick, but he also has boundless strength. Interesting. I'm gradually getting excited. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. In fact, until now, Phoenix in the Cloud was too happy that he didn't realize that Ling Xiao hadn't used any other moves besides the Sword Martial Soul. He also didn't enter the Beast Soul transformation. Competing with me in strength? All right, then I'll accompany you to the end. Purple Lightning Bull Beast Soul transformation. Following Ling Xiao's angry roar, his body instantly transformed into the Purple Lightning Bull battle form. At the same time, the Dark Dragon group leader's palm slapped over again. Rumble. This time, Ling Xiao didn't retreat. He stabbed the demonic dragon sword into the ground and blocked the terrifying attack with both hands. In terms of strength, I won't lose to you. Amidst the roar, Ling Xiao circulated the royal heaven-earth power throughout his body. His strength rose to the extreme. His body had also become much larger, bigger than his opponent. Scram! With a roar, he raised his head and sent the leader of the Dark Dragon squad flying. Ha ha ha, awesome. Although this attack didn't injure the Dark Dragon group leader, it could be considered as venting his anger. Damn it. Ling Xiao felt very uncomfortable being suppressed by someone else's strength all this time. He picked up the demonic dragon sword again. Then, dozens of terrifying purple lightning snakes were released from his body and pounced towards the Dark Dragon group leader. At the same time, he stepped on the ground and his figure flashed. He accelerated and stabbed out. His target was the weakest part of the Dark Dragon group leader's body, his eyes. Roar! The Dark Dragon group leader let out a beast-like roar. He actually used his physical body to tear apart the dozens of lightning snakes with his bare hands. Then he used his hand to grab the demonic dragon sword in Ling Xiao's hand. Ah! The Dark Dragon group leader roared, "Kid, you must die. No one has ever been able to surpass me in terms of strength. No one, and you are no exception." Chapter 2837. The leader of the Dark Dragon group roared angrily and waved his palms. His palms, which were as huge as palm leaf fans, collided with Ling Xiao's sword. Ling Xiao had actually surpassed him in terms of strength. This was unbearable for him. He wanted to use his strength to completely tear Ling Xiao apart. Chi! Chi! The demon dragon's sword pierced into the thick and huge hand of the leader of the Dark Dragon group, but it was as if it had pierced into a mountain rock. That rough skin with incomparable sword shadows was simply like an iron wall. It blocked the demon dragon sword from going any deeper. Roar! With a furious roar, the body of the leader of the Dark Dragon group actually grew larger again. Even his face became ferocious and terrifying, as if he had transformed into a terrifying monster. At the same time, the bloodline power in his body burst forth. The powerful blood energy actually condensed into the blood-red totem of an ancient mammoth above his head. The power of the mammoth, even if placed 100,000 years ago, was definitely one of the best. After inheriting this bloodline, the leader of the Dark Dragon group was truly very powerful. As the bloodline power continued to be stimulated and awakened, this fellow's body actually grew larger and larger like a small mountain. Previously, he was only 3 meters tall, but now he had already grown to 6 or 7 meters. The most terrifying thing was not this, but his body was actually getting closer and closer to the form of a mammoth. His legs were thick and powerful. When he stepped on the ground, he actually caused the already cracked ground to shatter and collapse once again. A terrifying force directly suppressed Ling Xiao. Die. Finally, he suppressed Ling Xiao in terms of strength once again. The leader of the Dark Dragon group approached Ling Xiao's neck with both hands, attempting to directly crush Ling Xiao into a meat patty. The terrifying palm was already as tall as Ling Xiao's body. If it closed directly, Ling Xiao would probably be half dead, even if he didn't die. This fellow's strength was truly terrifying. Of course, if it wasn't within his martial spirit, Ling Xiao could still use his movement technique to continuously dodge. He didn't need to fight this fellow head-on, but now that he was within this fellow's martial spirit, the space was only so small. Even if he wanted to hide, he didn't know where to hide. Therefore, he could only fight to the death. Demonic Dragon Possession. 3rd level, 5 Dragons Blessing. He roared. The 5 demonic dragons entered Ling Xiao's body at the same time. In that instant, Ling Xiao's strength, speed, internal energy, soul force, and defense had all received an enormous increase. He, who had been suppressed, was actually able to separate the 2 giant hands. Then he did not retreat. Instead, he stomped his foot and rushed forward, thrusting his sword towards the leader of the Dark Dragon team. His target was still the other party's eyes. At this moment, the other party did not have enough time to defend with his hands. He did not believe that he could not succeed. However, the scene that followed still surprised him. At the crucial moment, the Dark Dragon group's leader closed his eyes. His eyelids appeared to be a thin layer, but the toughness of his eyelids was in no way inferior to the leader's hands. There were even sparks flying out. Ha ha ha, it's useless. With your strength, you can't unleash the true power of the demonic dragon sword. You're dreaming if you want to break my defense. The leader of the Dark Dragon squad laughed. He opened his bloody mouth and wanted to swallow Ling Xiao into his stomach. Ling Xiao dodged. I can't unleash the full power of the demon dragon sword? That's right, but it's enough to kill you. In the air, Ling Xiao suddenly sneered. Within his entire body, a crazy amount of internal energy began to gush out. The powerful energy condensed into a terrifying demonic aura in the sky. This guy's internal energy is so strong. He actually used the demonic aura of the demon dragon sword to completely transform the energy he released. Its power is even more terrifying. If it was a warrior who was 1 realm higher than him, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to resist. No wonder he could kill Xue Tu and the others so easily. It's a pity that he met the leader of the Dark Dragon squad. All of this is useless. The onlookers saw it the clearest. Although Phoenix in the Cloud was surprised by Ling Xiao's terrifying comprehension and powerful strength, he still believed that the leader of the Dark Dragon squad was the leader of the Dark Dragon squad. However, he still thought highly of the leader of the Dark Dragon group and believed that Ling Xiao had no chance of winning. Boom! The ground exploded. The dragon wings behind the leader of the Dark Dragon squad flapped. As if he had escaped the suction of the mysterious world, he soared into the sky. He rushed towards Ling Xiao in the sky. Although his body was incomparably huge, his speed did not slow down much. This guy was really powerful to the point of being terrifying. Ling Xiao only looked coldly at the opponent who was charging at him. Around his body, black energy filled the air. Then it turned into terrifying, demonic lightning. Streaks of black lightning exploded around his body. The originally clear sky was once again covered by black clouds. Accompanied by the terrifying sound of thunder, lightning constantly fell. The lightning struck Ling Xiao's body and was actually absorbed by him. Then it turned into demonic lightning that was contaminated by demonic aura. At that moment, an illusory figure of the god of thunder appeared behind Ling Xiao. However, this thunder god's body was completely black, as if it had been demonized. What kind of martial arts did this kid cultivate? How can he do this? Phoenix in the Cloud was even more surprised. There was actually someone who could attract the heavenly lightning and turn it into demonic lightning. This kind of martial arts was almost impossible for them at their cultivation level. At this moment, the demon dragon sword in Ling Xiao's hand and the demon dragon sun sword that surrounded his body were all entwined with black, demonic lightning. They contained a mysterious, sinister, and terrifying aura. Next, I'll use you to test my moves. Transformative stage, Shadow, Sword Demon, Kill. In the void, Ling Xiao roared. The demonized thunder god turned into a sword demon. The sword demon and the demonized thunder god seemed to fuse together and exploded with an even more terrifying, evil, and powerful energy. Under the support of the true demon sword Qi, the shadow sword demon, which was originally an immortal grade first heaven martial skill, exploded with the power of an immortal grade second heaven martial skill. Roar, roar! The leader of the dark dragon group let out an angry roar from his beast-like mouth. His skin no longer belonged to a human. It was infinitely close to a mammoth's. The blood-red light around his body became even denser. It seemed to form a blood-red mammoth, wrapping his body in it. Then, he roared crazily and rushed towards Ling Xiao. That terrifying power filled the entire sky. It made the black clouds start to tremble. The terrifying shadow sword demon directly bombarded the body of the blood-red mammoth. The mammoth's body seemed to be slightly deformed. A terrifying sound exploded in the sky. However, this sword did not repel the leader of the dark dragon group. Although the blood-red mammoth's body was thwarted, it once again gained the upper hand as the sword Qi became weaker. Then, the leader of the dark dragon group continued his attack. Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Akashi's faces revealed a smile. The leader of the dark dragon group's attack was really powerful. Moreover, it was extremely overbearing and unreasonable. As the attacker, his face also bloomed with a victorious smile. Chapter 2838. The sword was unable to injure the opponent. However, Ling Xiao's face did not have the slightest bit of disappointment. He did not expect the shadow sword demon to be able to pierce through the dark dragon group leader's defense. The sword merely sent the demonic lightning into the blood-red mammoth's body. Perhaps Phoenix in the Cloud, Yamada Taka, and the dark dragon group leader did not notice that within the blood-red, there was a trace of black devil thunder that was constantly disintegrating the power of the bloodline. Can you block the next move? Ling Xiao waved the devil dragon's sword in his hand, and an even more powerful move broke through the air. Black Immortal descends. This was originally a second heaven immortal grade martial skill, but now it had the power of a third heaven immortal grade martial skill. The shadow sword demon disappeared and was replaced by the even more powerful Black Immortal. Black Immortal held the devil thunder with both hands, and his entire body was condensed from sword Qi. This sword pierced through the void, pierced through everything, and instantly arrived in front of the dark dragon group leader. This is impossible. How can he use two powerful moves consecutively in such a short period of time? Not even a moment of pause. The dark dragon group leader could not understand. How did Ling Xiao do it? It simply defied common sense. He may be powerful, but in terms of eyesight and intelligence, he was not as good as Phoenix in the Cloud. That was why he was Phoenix in the Cloud's underling. Even so, he still reacted. With a roar, a huge palm blasted out. This palm, which was wrapped in the blood-red mammoth body, was even more powerful than before. Brother Yin, what do you think? Yamada Taka was also very confused. Ling Xiao used 2 different moves consecutively. It was really unbelievable. This kid is very cunning. He used the sub-sword to condense the sword move in advance, so he only needed to release the mother sword. Not to mention 2 moves consecutively. Even if he used 10 moves consecutively, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Phoenix in the Cloud was still very powerful. After all, how could someone who could become the vice leader of the dragon cult and suppress Chinbai so miserably be an ordinary person? In the profound world, there was only one type of move that could be used continuously, and that was the chain skill. But even if it was a chain skill, once it was broken, there would be a pause. However, after Ling Xiao's first move was broken, he immediately unleashed a second move that was even more powerful. This really shocked Phoenix in the Cloud. He felt more and more regret. Why wasn't he the one who discovered Ling Xiao, but Chinbai? If Ling Xiao could be used by him, then the dragon cult would already be in his hands. Just as he was thinking about this, the sword light collided with the dark dragon group leader's hands again. The sky trembled. The earth trembled. Under this sword, a huge object fell to the ground with a loud bang. Phoenix in the Cloud took a closer look and realized that one of Dark Dragon's fingers had been severed by the sword. From the looks of it, it was just an insignificant injury. But don't forget, the defense that the Dark Dragon Group leader was so proud of was broken. You just said that I can't break your defense. Then I'll break it for you. Ling Xiao stood in the air, cold and frivolous. You're courting death. The Dark Dragon Group leader felt an intense pain coming from his finger. He roared furiously and tried to attack Ling Xiao again. However, Ling Xiao just smiled coldly. The demon dragon sword in his hand was aimed at the Dark Dragon Group leader. Devil Thunder, true devil sword chi. A terrifying sword chi was spat out from the demon dragon sword. The sword chi contained the power of Devil Thunder, which was even more terrifying than ordinary true devil sword chi. The sword chi directly pierced through the blood-red mammoth's body and then stabbed into the wound of the severed finger. Ah! At that moment, the Dark Dragon Group leader felt a heart-wrenching pain. All the muscles in his body were twitching violently. However, the pain did not stop. Instead, it continued to spread throughout his body. He could feel that the Devil Thunder and Devil Chi were like a terrifying poison, wreaking havoc in his body. For a moment, cold sweat flowed from his forehead and his entire body was drenched in sweat. Ah! The Dark Dragon Group leader once again let out a shrill scream. His body fell to the ground like a towering mountain. However, as he fell, this guy also made a reaction that made people's eyes light up. He opened his mouth and spat out a blood arrow which shot straight at Ling Xiao. He was afraid that Ling Xiao would follow up with another attack. Ling Xiao dodged lightly and avoided the blood arrow. He did not pursue. He had already found a way to deal with the other party. There was no need to rush. Boom! The ground completely collapsed. The Dark Dragon Group leader struggled to get up and threw a pill into his mouth. Then, he looked at Ling Xiao with an ugly expression. Ling Xiao stood in the air and looked down at the Dark Dragon Group leader. His eyes were cold and mocking. A mocking smile appeared on his face. Kill me? Do you have the right? Ling Xiao spat out a voice and said disdainfully. These words made the Dark Dragon Group leader's face turn ugly. Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Akashi's faces also turned ugly. This sudden turn of events made them somewhat unable to accept it, because from the beginning of the battle, the Dark Dragon Group leader had the absolute advantage. But now he was injured by Ling Xiao. In his body, there was also the Devil Thunder that was difficult to get rid of. In fact, they had thought too much from the beginning. Ling Xiao had not used his full strength since the beginning of the battle, because there were some things that he did not want to expose. It was a trump card that could save his life. He would only use it when his life was in danger. And obviously, the Dark Dragon Group leader was not qualified. Dark Dragon, if you can't do it, let me do it. Phoenix in the Cloud said coldly, although she said that she was actually putting pressure on the Dark Dragon Group leader. If he could not even kill the puny Ling Xiao, how could he be an expert? An expert? It was simply a joke. There's no need for that. Just stand there and watch how I kill him. The Dark Dragon Group leader was completely enraged. He looked at his severed finger and felt the stabbing pain in his body. His expression became more and more ferocious. In his eyes, there was a terrifying killing intent that had never been seen before. Roar, roar. It was like a berserk monster. The Dark Dragon Group leader let out a terrifying roar. The blood-red mammoth that had originally wrapped around his body was actually absorbed into his body and then completely disappeared. And at that moment, the Dark Dragon Group leader's body changed. It began to expand and grow bigger. In the end, from 6 to 7 meters, it became a huge existence that was 10 meters tall. His eyes no longer belonged to a human, but to an ancient beast, a mammoth. What was even more shocking was that the Dark Dragon Group leader's entire body was twisting and transforming. In the end, he completely transformed into a beast. Standing in front of Ling Xiao was no longer a person. Instead, it was a real existence, an ancient mammoth that was as huge as a mountain. An adult mammoth elephant's body was huge. On the plains, other animals did not pose any threat to them. Although female mammoths might be more gentle in normal times, they were abnormally irritable when raising their young. Chapter 2839. Male mammoths lived alone, and their tempers were even more irritable. There was no doubt that mammoths were at the top of the food chain. In ancient times, they had very terrifying combat strength. Although mammoths were basically extinct now, there were still descendants of the mammoth race who had the terrifying blood of mammoths flowing in their bodies. The giant in front of them was the transformation of the Dark Dragon Group's leader. That's right, use all your strength to kill that Ling Xiao. Phoenix in the Cloud looked at this terrifying mammoth and felt very satisfied. Ling Xiao also looked at this giant beast and saw that its 4 limbs were standing tall like pillars supporting the sky. As early as the ancient times, there were actually many legends. One of them said that the profound world was actually on the back of a mammoth and was carried through the universe. Whether it was true or not, it was unknown. After all, Ling Xiao had never left the profound world, but it could be imagined how terrifying the mammoths were at that time, so people would have such an association. This guy had a ferocious and terrifying face and a pair of eyes that seemed to be bleeding at any time. Its long fangs were actually blood red. It was said that only a few mammoths had blood fangs. This kind of ancient bloodline is really difficult to deal with. Ling Xiao frowned and thought of his good brother Long Chen. What Long Chen had was the bloodline of the dragon race, which was also incomparably powerful. But if you want to play transformation with me, then I'll play with you to the end. Purple lightning bull, monster beast form, transform. As Ling Xiao's cold voice sounded, his appearance began to change rapidly. In just an instant, his body also turned into a huge purple lightning bull. It was close to 7 or 8 meters tall, and purple lightning wrapped around its huge body. The surrounding ground was scorched black. Roar! The same roar that belonged to a monster beast came from the mouth of the purple lightning bull. From its huge nostrils, 2 lightning-like balls of air blew out, creating 2 large pits in the ground. What's going on? Yamada Akashi was stunned. Could it be that guy also has some strange bloodline? No, that should be the beast transformation of a beast warrior. It's different from a bloodline. Phoenix in the Cloud shook her head. But that's not right, Brother Yin. I've never seen a beast warrior transform into such a terrifying beast. This is definitely wrong. Yamada Akashi shook his head and said with certainty, could it be a beast god warrior? Phoenix in the Cloud frowned as a terrifying possibility occurred to her. I once heard Chen Tsangshou mention that the 8 immortal city that Ling Xiao occupies has the beast soul inheritance of the 12 beast gods. Could it be that he actually got it? The beast soul inheritance of the 12 beast gods. Could they be the 12 beast gods who once protected the Black Tortoise continent and chased away the exotic beasts? Yamada Akira asked. Not bad. That's not going to be easy. Although the 12 beast gods are nothing in the entire profound world, they are definitely top-notch existences in the entire Black Tortoise continent. Their inheritance is practically the strongest inheritance in the Black Tortoise continent. How could this kid get it? Yamada Takashi frowned. If that's the case, then this kid can't be left alive. Kill him and get the beast soul inheritance of the 12 beast gods. This will be beneficial to our future plans. Phoenix in the Cloud also stared at Ling Xiao. This time, they had really picked up a treasure. However, if he knew that Ling Xiao had a true natal martial spirit in his body, what would he think? The Sky Tyrant martial spirit was an invincible martial spirit in the entire profound world. Die! The giant mammoth beast spat out a rough human voice. Then its 4 hooves stomped on the ground, and its body rushed out like a small mountain. Because its body was too huge, its terrifying weight caused the ground to shatter again. A terrifying aura spread out in the small martial spirit space. Damn it, it's you! The purple lightning bull spat out Ling Xiao's voice as its terrifying body rushed forward. It spat out purple lightning from its mouth. It was quite shocking. Boom! Heaven and earth seemed to suddenly collapse. The purple lightning bull and the giant mammoth beast collided. The terrifying energy caused the surrounding space to distort and deform. Even the martial spirit space of the leader of the Dark Dragon group began to tremble violently. A terrifying shock wave was released from the martial spirit space. Even Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Takashi felt an incomparably terrifying pressure. It's really 2 monsters. Yamada Takashi and Phoenix in the Cloud exclaimed in their hearts. The giant mammoth beast was a bloodline incarnation. It was reasonable to say that it should be much stronger than the martial spirit incarnation. However, this collision was actually unable to disperse the purple lightning bull. The 2 ferocious demonic beasts fell into a stalemate on the ground. Then, almost at the same time, they retreated. At the same time, they used all their strength to rush out. Oh my God, what kind of battle is this? It's simply terrifying. Yamada Takashi felt his body trembling. Fortunately, the one fighting Ling Xiao was the leader of the Dark Dragon group and not him. Otherwise, how could he deal with such a ferocious opponent? Rumble. The heaven and earth collapsed once again. A crazy sandstorm was created on the spot due to the impact of the energy. Then it rose up and covered the entire sky. It's about time. Ling Xiao sensed the cultivation ocean in his body, because his opponent, the leader of the Dark Dragon group, was indeed stronger than him. Therefore, the energy in his cultivation sea had been constantly increasing. Now that it had reached its peak, it could break through at any time. But it was also the end. This peak, unless there was an even stronger opponent, otherwise it would be impossible to break through. After all, the threat of the leader of the Dark Dragon group had come to an end. It could not stimulate the potential in Ling Xiao's body to be released. It's time to end this. A cold voice came out from the purple lightning bull's mouth. Ling Xiao once again transformed into the purple lightning bull's battle form. He summoned the demon dragon sword. In that instant, his body was wrapped in black gas that soared into the sky, like an evil spirit that walked out of hell. The giant mammoth beast instinctively felt the danger and wanted to retreat. Unfortunately, at this time it was already too late. Do you think that you're the only one who knows how to use spatial restraint? As Ling Xiao's voice sounded, he had already changed form and transformed into the battle form of the 3-headed lava hound. At the same time, the scorching hell was born. This scorching hell, if Ling Xiao was willing, could isolate all auras and light. It made it impossible for the people outside to sense the situation inside, let alone see. He really did not want Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Takashi to know his true strength, so he had to finish off his opponent in the Scorching Hell. Moreover, the Scorching Hell could also greatly increase his combat strength in the three-headed lava hound battle form. This was absolutely beneficial to him. What's going on? Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Takashi suddenly lost their auras and traces, and they were a little anxious. But in the face of the double spatial isolation. Chapter 2840. Silence. Incomparable silence. Outside, it had become deathly silent. Only the magma of the Scorching Hell was constantly rolling and changing. Could it be that Ling Xiao has some secret that he doesn't want us to know? Phoenix in the Cloud thought of this, but what could he do? He still couldn't do anything. Will the Dark Dragon be in danger? Yamada Taka asked anxiously. It'll be fine. As far as I know, as long as the Dark Dragon transforms into that form, even if he can't defeat the enemy, he'll be fine. Phoenix in the Cloud said confidently. He wasn't worried at all. Instead, he thought that Ling Xiao had trapped himself in a cocoon and sent himself to the tiger's den. Roar! Suddenly, a frightened and angry roar came from the Scorching Hell. This voice was clearly the Ultralisk's. There was fear in the roar, as if it had seen something unbelievable. Something's wrong, Brother Yin. Quickly think of something, or the Dark Dragon will be in danger. Yamada Taka said anxiously. Phoenix in the Cloud was no longer as confident as before. He didn't understand why the Ultralisk would make such a sound. Could it be that Ling Xiao really had some trump card that even the Ultralisk was afraid of? Suddenly, as if deliberately releasing a terrifying and fierce aura, it was filled with an ancient, primitive, wild, bloodthirsty, and destructive feeling. This feeling was as if an incredible monster had been born in that Scorching Hell. This kind of monster shouldn't belong to the mystic world. What was it that could emit such a terrifying aura? And why did Ling Xiao deliberately release such an aura? Could it be that he just wanted to show off? Damn it. Roar. The Ultralisk's roar came again. This time there was no anger. All that was left was despair, sorrow, pain, and fear. It was as if it had encountered an unprecedented crisis. What's going on? Phoenix in the Cloud was also confused. His confidence had been completely shattered. Especially when he thought of Ling Xiao's previous actions, he really couldn't be sure that the Ultralisk was Ling Xiao's opponent. There was no need to even mention Yamada Akashi. He tried to break into the martial spirit space to help, but all his efforts were in vain. Fear and uneasiness grew in the hearts of these two experts. The roar of pain became weaker and weaker, more and more urgent, and finally disappeared completely. The Scorching Hell, which had been churning violently, gradually regained its tranquility. It was as if the foreign object inside had been removed and everything was peaceful again. Could it be that the Ultralisk is dead? Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Akashi both realized that the martial spirit space left behind by the leader of the Dark Dragon Group was falling apart. This meant that the leader of the Dark Dragon Group was dead. Only in this way could the martial soul space be removed. If he had taken the initiative to remove it, it should have disappeared instantly. What exactly happened in this terrifying Scorching Hell? Finally, the martial spirit space disappeared completely. The Scorching Hell was also taken away in an instant. Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Akira stared in the direction of the Scorching Hell. There was a figure standing there. It was Ling Xiao, a domineering and frivolous figure, a cold and handsome figure. Ling Xiao stood there, looking at Phoenix in the Cloud and Yamada Akashi with a smile that was not a smile. The two experts felt their hair stand on end. The scene in front of them was too terrifying, because there was only Ling Xiao there, and the huge Ultralisk was nowhere to be seen. Even the body of the leader of the Dark Dragon Group was gone. This scene was simply too bizarre and too frightening. What exactly happened? They looked at Ling Xiao with disbelief in their eyes, and even uneasiness and fear. What was certain was that the Ultralisk was dead, and there was not even a trace of it left. This was too terrifying. What did you do to the Dark Dragon? Phoenix in the Cloud asked angrily. It was as if a louder voice could reduce the fear and uneasiness in his heart. He really did not expect that he would be frightened by such a kid. It was simply embarrassing. But this was the reality. The death of the leader of the Dark Dragon group was too strange. People were always very afraid of the unknown. I ate him. Ling Xiao grinned and gave an answer that Phoenix in the Cloud could not accept. You ate him? Don't joke around. Yamada Akashi also roared. How could you eat him? Nothing is impossible. If you want to deal with me, Ling Xiao, you should have thought of the consequences. Ling Xiao said indifferently, Next, it's the two of you. Since we met here by chance, you two can go down and accompany that guy. After saying this, he suddenly charged toward Yamada Akashi. This Yamada Akashi knew how to break the formation. If he was left alive, he would be a disaster sooner or later. He had to be destroyed first. Moreover, he had already lost an arm. This guy's combat strength would definitely be reduced. He was much easier to kill than Phoenix in the Cloud. Illusion, fog of confusion. Yamada Akashi suddenly roared. He opened his mouth and spat out a thick cloud of smoke. It wrapped around Ling Xiao and instantly engulfed Ling Xiao's figure. Brother Yin, take this opportunity to get rid of him. My fog of confusion has never failed before. I didn't have time to use it before, and he cut off my hand. Now, I want his life to avenge the Dark Dragon. Yamada Akashi said to Phoenix in the Cloud. Actually, without him saying anything, Phoenix in the Cloud had already launched an attack. With such an excellent opportunity, Phoenix in the Cloud naturally had to grasp it tightly and not give Ling Xiao any chance. However, just as he was about to rush out, a voice suddenly rang out. Yamada Akashi heard a voice that claimed his life. Fog of confusion? You actually used an illusion on me. Are you an idiot? Ling Xiao was now the least afraid of illusions. His soul power was much stronger than ordinary warriors. Yamada Akashi's soul power was not even 1/10 of his. Yet he actually dared to use an illusion on him. This was an extremely stupid move. Using an illusion on someone whose soul power was stronger than his would only result in a backlash. At this moment, Yamada Akashi had already fallen into an illusion of his own creation. In his illusion, he was being torn apart by a ferocious beast, but his body was completely immobile. In the real world, his throat was being pierced by Ling Xiao's sword. Get lost. Phoenix in the Cloud knew that Yamada Akashi could not die. If Yamada Akashi died, he would not be able to control the entire Yamada family. Moreover, there were many things related to arrays that he could not solve. He flew over and heavily slammed his palm towards Ling Xiao's back. On his palm, there was a cold white flame burning. However, facing Phoenix in the Cloud's attack, Ling Xiao did not react at all. The sword in his hand resolutely pierced through Yamada Akashi's throat. At the same time, Phoenix in the Cloud's palm also landed on his back. What made Phoenix in the Cloud extremely surprised was that on the surface of Ling Xiao's body, a blood-red mammoth blood shadow actually appeared. Chapter 2841. That's impossible! Phoenix in the Cloud exclaimed. The fear in his heart grew. Nothing is impossible. I've said it before. I ate him. To be exact, I absorbed his bloodline power. Ling Xiao chuckled. All right, both of them are dead. Next, it's your turn, my vice sect leader. No, I can't die yet. Phoenix in the Cloud suddenly shouted. He turned around and fled. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared into the distance. F***CK. How did he escape so quickly? Seeing Phoenix in the Cloud escape, Ling Xiao had no intention of chasing him. He was actually very tired after killing Shuezhan, the Dark Dragon, and Yamada Zhang. To be honest, he didn't have much chance of winning against Phoenix in the Cloud. It would definitely be a tough battle. When he had just devoured the Dark Dragon, he had unexpectedly received a piece of shocking news. It was that domineering blade Ghost Li and the Qin Nation's army had worked together to break through demonic Dragon City. He was in a hurry to go back. The reason why he didn't escape and killed Yamada-Zhang was purely to intimidate Phoenix in the cloud. That way, it would be easier for him to fight. Now that Phoenix in the cloud had escaped, it saved him a lot of trouble. Master, Mountain Master, Little Gold, Mu Qing, Red Witch, Chun Wan, don't let anything happen to you. I'll be back soon. Ignoring Phoenix in the cloud, Ling Xiao threw the demonic dragon's sword into the air and jumped on it. Back to demonic Dragon City. The Nine Suns' demonic dragon sword was different from ordinary magic treasures. It had its own consciousness. Like a monster, it could fly on its own and wouldn't consume its master's inner strength. For Ling Xiao, stepping on the demonic dragon sword and returning to demonic Dragon City was obviously more convenient. Whoosh! A sword light flew into the distance. Ling Xiao stood steadily on the wide sword. He closed his eyes and began to consolidate his cultivation. In the previous battle, although he didn't manage to break through, he had reached the peak of the middle stage of the 12th layer of hell. It was time for him to settle down. And because he had consumed a lot of energy in the battle, he needed to recover well. At this moment, on a grassland more than 10 miles away from the Devil Dragon City, several figures were fighting with a ferocious, demonic beast. There were a total of 4 people. 2 of them were Ling Xiao's old acquaintances, Mu Qing and Chun Wan. As for the other 2, they were somewhat unfamiliar. One of them was a young man in his 20s. The other person was a middle-aged man in his 40s. Mu Qing and Chun Wan had received orders from sect leader Qinbai to rush out of the city to seek help before the city was breached. The dragon cult had quite a few branches in the outside world. Other than those who were secretly bought over by Phoenix in the cloud, there were also a few who were loyal to Qinbai. They wanted to seek help from these branches. However, what shocked them was that these few branches that were still loyal to Qinbai were actually all annihilated. Only the middle-aged man and the young man were saved. The young man's name was Feng Ran, and the middle-aged man was his father, Feng Hao. One was the young leader of a branch, and the other was the leader of a branch. Since they couldn't get help, Mu Qing and Chun Wan planned to return to the Devil Dragon City. No matter what, they had to live and die with the dragon cult. However, on the way, they encountered the war beast raised by the Qin Kingdom's army. This was a terrifying demonic tiger whose strength had reached the mid-stage of the Yin-Yang realm. It was 6 meters tall and nearly 10 meters long. It could spit fire when it opened its mouth, and its claws and teeth were extremely sharp. Miss Mu Qing, this monster is too strong. You should deal with it. Feng Hao suggested. My injuries haven't healed yet. I'm afraid I can't help you much. Feng Ran isn't strong enough. What are you 2 talking about? It was Mu Qing who saved you. Moreover, the sect leader has been treating you well all these years. How can you let Mu Qing take the risk alone? Chun Wan was a little angry. Brother Chun Wan, don't say any more. You 2 stay aside. Leave this demonic tiger to me. Mu Qing was also a little dissatisfied. However, Feng Hao was indeed injured. If his injuries worsened, he wouldn't be able to help much even if he returned to demonic Dragon City. As she spoke, she walked forward alone to face the ferocious demonic tiger. Although this demonic tiger's cultivation wasn't as high as hers, demonic beasts had thick skin and flesh. Their combat strength might not be weaker than hers. This battle might be a tough one. Mu Qing, let me help you. Although you are strong, you have been the only one fighting along the way. We relied on you to fend off the Qin Nation's pursuers and the traitors. No matter what, please let me help. Chun Wan couldn't help but ask. No need. Your mission is to take good care of the 2 of them. Mu Qing shook her head. Of course. She knew Chun Wan's good intentions. However, Chun Wan's strength was too weak compared to this demonic tiger. He couldn't be of much help. If she really wanted to help, Feng Hao could. Unfortunately, he was injured. All right then. Be careful. However, if there's really danger, I'll definitely help. After Chen Wan finished speaking, he stood aside and took out his weapon. Although he knew that he couldn't be of much help, he could still block some of the attacks from Mu Qing. It was definitely worth exchanging his life for Mu Qing's. At the very least, that was what he thought. Soon Mu Qing and the demonic tiger were engaged in battle. Feng Hao and Feng Ran sat to the side and rested. They were far from the battlefield and Chen Wan. "Father, are your injuries all right?" Feng Ran asked. "Shil, lower your voice. My injuries have already healed. However, the situation is still unclear. How can we make an enemy of the Qin Kingdom's royal family? Let's wait and see. If the situation isn't right, we'll kill these two fellows and join the Qin Kingdom. After all, we'll still enjoy the glory and wealth." Feng Hao sneered. "Brilliant, father. I thought you'd be stupid enough to go to Demonic Dragon City to help that Chen Bai. He should be like a grasshopper after autumn. He won't be able to jump around for long." Feng Ran said excitedly. "That might not be the case. That's why we have to wait. If Chen Bai has any trump cards that can turn the tide, we can help him. Although the reputation of being a fence-sitter isn't good, we can live for a long time. We'll side with whoever is stronger," Feng Hao said proudly. "No wonder father didn't want to help. I knew it. If you were to help, you should be able to easily deal with that demonic tiger." Feng Ran smiled. Just as they were talking, a loud sound came from the other side. It turned out that the battle between Mu Qing and the demonic tiger was nearing its end. The demonic tiger was heavily injured by Mu Qing and was on the verge of death. Mu Qing also exhausted too much energy and stood there gasping for breath. "I'll help you end it." Suddenly, Feng Ran rushed out and pierced the demonic fox's neck with his sword. Then he cut off its huge head. Before Mu Qing could say anything, Feng Ran had already taken out the demonic tiger's demonic beast core and placed it into his storage ring. This scene made Mu Qing smile bitterly. However, because the dragon cult needed Feng Hao's strength, she didn't say anything. Chapter 2842. Seeing Feng Ran's actions, Chen Wan was furious. Mu Qing had risked her life to kill the demonic tiger. Now that she had consumed so much energy, Feng Ran actually took advantage of it. The most despicable thing was that Feng Ran actually thought it was natural and did not ask for Mu Qing's opinion. He was obviously looking down on Mu Qing. "Bastard, take out the demonic beast core and return it to Mu Qing." Chen Wan roared. Feng Ran squinted at Chen Wan and showed some disdain. He was afraid of Mu Qing, but he was not afraid of Chen Wan, because he was stronger than Chen Wan. He was already at the peak of the 11th level of the Yin-Yang realm. "I killed the demonic tiger and took its core. What's wrong with that?" Moreover, Mu Qing didn't say anything. "Why are you being so long-winded? With your strength, I really don't know how you became the demonic dragon's envoy. What a disgrace. Bah." Feng Ran spat on the ground and scolded. "Kid, let's fight alone if you dare." Chen Wan had been tolerating this father and son for a long time. Since he saved them, they were like masters. They were always taken care of, but refused to do anything. Even the ordinary pursuers would find excuses to stop him, saying that they were injured or not strong enough. Now that he had snatched Mu Qing's demonic beast core, how could he tolerate it? "All right, I'm not Feng Ran if I'm afraid of you." Feng Ran mocked. "I'm just afraid that when I embarrass myself, you'll kneel on the ground and cry." "Come on." Chen Wan roared. He was the kind of person who could be beheaded and bleed, but he would never be humiliated. In his opinion, his backbone was more important than his life. "That's enough, Chen Wan. We still have important matters to attend to. Don't cause internal strife here." Mu Qing suddenly looked at Chen Wan and said, "Mu Qing, you." Chen Wan was stunned. "Ha ha! Look at how sensible Mu Qing is. Learn from her." Feng Ran laughed heartily and sat back down comfortably. A cold light flashed in Mu Qing's eyes, but she did not make a move. In fact, she was even angrier than Chen Wan. But now, she could only focus on the big picture. What was a little grievance? Moreover, she had just fought with the demonic tiger and was now exhausted. If she really fought with Feng Hao, they would be the ones at a disadvantage. Therefore, he had to endure it. Haha, Miss Mu Qing is indeed a good person. Suddenly, a cold laugh came from the forest. Figures walked out of the forest, one after another. The man in the lead looked at Mu Qing indifferently and smiled. Our monster tiger battle beast's combat strength isn't bad. It once killed a cultivator with the same cultivation as young lady, but I didn't expect it to be killed so easily by young lady. The eyes of these people were as cold as frost, revealing a terrifying killing intent and cruelty. One look and one could tell that he was not a good person. A warrior from the Qin state. Mu Qing frowned. There was no need to ask. She could tell from the other party's attire. You got it right, but there's no reward. All of you, prepare to die. Wang. As the other party spoke, a terrifying killing intent suddenly blossomed in the air, enveloping the four of them. Dad, that guy seems to be the skeleton general, one of the new 7 generals of the Chen Nation's Heavenly Thunder Legion. Feng Ran approached Feng Hao and said in a low voice, That's right, it's the skeleton generals. Rumor has it that the new 7 great generals were all recruited through conscription. They are the 7 hidden experts of the Qin Nation. In order to invite them out, the Thunder Emperor gave them a sizable reward. Of course, Feng Hao understood the new 7 great generals better than Feng Ran. He also knew that these 7 people were more than 1 or 2 levels stronger than the previous 7 great generals. They were all experts at the 12th floor of the Yin-Yang realm. The weakest was this skeleton general. However, he was still a late-stage cultivator at the 12th floor of the Yin-Yang realm. Are we still going to follow those 2 idiots to their deaths? Feng Ran asked. Of course not. Feng Hao originally wanted to wait until he went to the demonic dragon city and saw the situation before deciding which side to join. However, the appearance of the skeleton general changed his mind. He did not want to be enemies with such a strong person. He walked forward and cupped his hands. I am Feng Hao, the former branch master of the Dragon Cult's branch. However, I am now willing to turn over a new leaf and join the Qin Nation. I can even help you deal with them. What? Hearing this, Mu Qing felt her body tremble violently. She had been holding back and not making a move because she thought that Feng Hao would not betray her. However, Feng Hao's words completely shattered her fantasy and brought her back to reality. You 2 shameless bastards! Chan Wan roared angrily. Ha ha, ha 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 ha, you 2 are really shameless. However, if you want to join us, you have to do one thing first. Didn't you just say that you will help us kill those 2? Do it now. The skeleton general looked up to the sky and laughed a few times, then said with a smile. He did not believe Feng Hao and Feng Ran at all. Moreover, even if Feng Hao and Feng Ran wanted to join the Qin Nation, he would not agree. Why would he want people who could betray their own people at any time? Did they want to betray him? However, Feng Hao did not think of this. He was anxious to make a contribution and wanted to take advantage of Mu Qing's exhaustion to kill her easily. Many thanks, General, for giving us this opportunity. We will do it now. Feng Hao chuckled coldly and looked at Mu Qing. I'm sorry, Miss Mu Qing. The dragon cult is already on its last legs. It is impossible for it to make a comeback. Just accept your death obediently and let us father and son seek riches. Feng Ran also looked at Chen Luan and said, Didn't you want to fight me alone just now? Now that there is a chance, I will let you know that you are nothing compared to me. Surround them. Don't let them escape. The skeleton general laughed coldly and ordered his subordinates to surround Mu Qing and Chen Luan. You 2 shameless bastards. Today, even if I, Mu Qing, die, I will drag you down with me. I was really blind. I actually still had expectations for you 2. Truly laughable. Mu Qing was extremely distressed. That's right. You were blind. We are indeed shameless. But so what? The ones who are going to die now are you two, not us. Feng Hao's laughter was filled with thick sarcasm. They will not die, but you too will definitely die. A voice suddenly came from the sky. It was as loud as thunder. It stunned everyone. They all raised their heads to look. Soon, a person stepped on the sword. He was as handsome as a tree in the wind, looking very confident and at ease. His long black hair danced wildly behind his head, but his body emitted an aura of death. That sword was even more ferocious and terrifying. It was like a living thing, releasing a terrifying demonic aura. The youth rode on the sword and stepped on the air. Chapter 2843. The young man stood on his sword, floating in the air. His chiseled face was cold and awe-inspiring. His gaze was fixed on the father and son duo, Feng Hao and Feng Ran. Your Excellency, please mind your own business. This is a war between the Qin nation and the dragon cult. You have to think carefully. Feng Hao narrowed his eyes. He keenly discovered that although this young man was young, he was very strong, especially the strange sword under his feet, which exuded a terrifying aura like that of a ferocious beast. He did not want to provoke such a person. In this world, there were many hidden experts who had never come out, so they did not know the situation outside. If he could avoid offending them, he would try his best not to. The skeleton general also looked at Ling Xiao and said with a smile, I am the 7th general of the Sky Thunder Legion, Skeleton. Young hero, I'm afraid you don't understand the situation. These two people are monsters of the dragon cult. They deserve to be killed for bringing disaster to the world. However, when Mu Qing and Chen Wan saw Ling Xiao, they were overjoyed. Mu Qing could clearly feel that Ling Xiao's strength had skyrocketed. Although the sword under Ling Xiao's feet was not the same as Chen Bai's demon dragon sword, it was definitely not an ordinary item. Now that Ling Xiao was here, they were naturally safe. Ling Xiao, you successfully obtained the demon dragon sword. Mu Qing shouted excitedly, feeling as if she had seen her family. This shout made the people of the Qin nation, Feng Hao and Feng Ran, take a step back nervously, their expressions quickly becoming serious. Ling Xiao. This young man on the sword was actually Ling Xiao, who made countless people tremble in fear upon hearing his name. The great enemy of the Qin nation's royal family, the thorn and phoenix in the cloud side, the thorn in the flesh. He was also Chen Bai's last disciple, the young master of the dragon cult. They actually told Ling Xiao not to meddle in other people's business. Just thinking about it made them feel ridiculous. You want to destroy the dragon cult, kill my master, and kill my senior brothers and sisters. Don't you think it's ridiculous that you don't even recognize me? I think the person you want to kill the most should be me. Ling Xiao looked at this group of idiots with a faint smile. He was still standing on his sword, his eyes cold. A murderous aura instantly filled the air. In an instant, he suddenly moved. Stepping on the demonic dragon sword, he turned into a bolt of lightning and penetrated Feng Ran's body. Feng Ran was split into two halves. Shameless traitor, this is your fate. Landing on the ground, Ling Xiao grasped the demon dragon sword in his hand, and 9 demon dragon sun swords appeared around his body. You killed my son! Feng Hao was enraged. His terrifying aura continued to expand and climb. Although he had heard of some of Ling Xiao's deeds, he did not know that Ling Xiao had killed the leader of the Dark Dragon Group, Yamada Takashi, and the others. If he had known, he probably wouldn't have been so impulsive. I killed him. So what? Ling Xiao looked at Feng Hao coolly and said, Not only do I want to kill him, but I also want to kill you. Kid, aren't you a little too complacent? You actually dare to kill someone who wants to join us in front of me, the skeleton general? The skeleton general was a little annoyed. Ling Xiao killed people without caring about him at all. Oh, you didn't say anything. I almost forgot. You said that you are the 7th general of the Sky Thunder Legion, Skeleton. Didn't anyone tell you that your predecessor died in my 10 Extremes formation? Ling Xiao chuckled. Of course I know, But how can that trash compare to me? The skeleton general said disdainfully. This general is a hidden expert recruited by the Chun country's royal family. Is that so? But in my eyes, you are no different from him. You are just putting up a bid to sell your head. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Hateful, kill him for me. Kill him. Ever since the skeleton general became the general of the Sky Thunder Legion, he had never been so annoyed. This Ling Xiao actually dared to look down on him. His subordinates really didn't know fear. Perhaps they didn't understand Ling Xiao's strength, but they actually shouted and charged at Ling Xiao. A bunch of idiots. Ling Xiao waved his hand, and 9 demon dragon sun swords instantly charged into the crowd. In an instant, more than 10 lives were lost. Those sharp demon dragon sun swords were really suitable to be used as flying swords. The moment he made a move, it immediately intimidated everyone. Feng Hao, who originally planned to launch a sneak attack, was also stunned. Ling Xiao's strength was even more terrifying than he had imagined. Everyone stared at the youth and the 9 ferocious black, flying swords revolving around him. Their hearts trembled violently. What sword is that? Why is it so terrifying? Don't you know? This is the 9 sun demon dragon sword. 1 mother sword, 9 sun swords. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Demon dragon sword. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, the skeleton general and Feng Hao both revealed a shocked expression. They had seen the demon dragon sword before. Thinking about it carefully, the demon dragon sword that Chun Bai used before looked very similar to one of those sun swords. How did this guy get 9 of these swords all of a sudden? It's too terrifying. Answer my question. How many people did you send to Demon Dragon City? Who is the strongest? Ling Xiao's sharp eyes stared at the skeleton general. Before rushing back to Demon Dragon City, he needed to figure out the other party's background. Kid, you're too arrogant. Do you really think this general is afraid of you? The skeleton general roared, and a huge skeleton appeared behind him. Ling Xiao had seen this guy's martial soul in the Divine Phoenix continent before, but it was definitely not as strong as this guy. But that was only relative. This skeleton general was only at the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm's 12th level of hell. In front of him, he would be killed in an instant. His actual combat strength might not be as good as Shuezhan. Ha ha ha, are you afraid? I know your background very well. If you obediently kneel down and tie your hands, I can consider sparing your life. The skeleton general laughed loudly, but in the next moment, his laughter came to an abrupt end. That was because a sword was already pressed against his neck. Feeling the cold, demonic aura and killing intent from the demon dragon sword, the skeleton general instantly knelt on the ground. This spineless guy. Don't kill me. Fear quickly filled his body. He didn't even see how Ling Xiao attacked just now. He absolutely believed that as long as Ling Xiao wanted to, he could kill him in an instant. Seeing this scene, the soldiers of the Qin nation that the skeleton general brought were scared silly. The dignified skeleton general was actually so weak. Feng Hao was even more shocked. He looked at his son's corpse on the ground, gritted his teeth, turned around, and fled into the distance. He knew very well that he was no match for the skeleton general, so he was no match for Ling Xiao. If he didn't escape now, when would he? However, could he escape? Feng Hao directly collided with the 9 demon dragon swords. 9 vital points on his body were pierced, and he died in an instant. Letting you die like this is a bit too easy for you. But don't worry, I'll use your corpse to do something later. Chapter 2844. A moment later, Feng Hao stood up again shakily. Demonic corpse. Ling Xiao had used it twice before, but because it was too annoying, he didn't want to use it easily. But this time the dragon cult was trapped, so he needed more help. So not only did Ling Xiao collect Feng Hao's corpse, but he also collected the corpses of Shuezhan, Shuetu, the 3 deputy leaders of the Dark Dragon cult, and Yamada Taka. He put them in a separate storage ring, ready to use. He couldn't use the corpse of the Dark Dragon cult leader because he had already destroyed it. Seeing this strange scene, Mu Qing and Chen Wan felt a little scared, not to mention the Chen soldiers. "I beg you, I'll tell you everything. Please don't let me become like this and have my corpse ruined after I die." The skeleton general was scared out of his wits. Blood splattered as the skeleton general's throat was pierced. Every Qin soldier's heart trembled violently. Dead. The dignified skeleton general died before winning the battle. He hadn't even killed a single person, but he had already lost his life. One move, just one move. After putting away the skeleton general's corpse, Ling Xiao looked coldly at the Qin soldiers and said, "You have no right to negotiate with me. Speak, or I'll turn all of you into demonic corpses." The Qin soldiers had long lost the courage to resist, especially when they saw Feng Hao turned into a demonic envoy. They trembled in fear and panic. "You're the deputy general, right? You'll speak. Answer my question." Ling Xiao pointed his sword at one of them. That person didn't hesitate at all and hurriedly said, "The 7 legions of the Sky Thunder Legion have all been mobilized. The 7 new generals have also set out. They were all at the late stage of the 12th level of the Yinyang realm. The strongest were, of course, the new 1st and 2nd generals. In addition, the 12th and 11th princes who were cultivating outside rushed back to supervise the army. The sects of these 2 princes were very powerful. It was said that they could easily destroy a small country like the Chen kingdom. The 2 of them only pursued martial arts and did not care about the throne. Thus, they had returned to help the 14th prince, Qin Sangxiong. Furthermore, their cultivations were not at all inferior to Qin Sangxiong's, although they were a few years older. Unexpectedly, the sons of the Thunder Emperor are all very capable. I thought that only the 14th prince would be hard to deal with. Unexpectedly, 12th and 11th are not easy to deal with either." Ling Xiao frowned. He had never heard of a large sect that could easily wipe out the Qin nation. However, he would know once he stepped out of the Qin nation. "Feng Hao, kill them!" Ling Xiao waved his hand and did not do it himself. Instead, he handed these people over to Devil Corpse Feng Hao. "Leave these people alive. Stop joking around." If he spared them, he would soon meet them in Demon Dragon City. Who would dare to show mercy on the battlefield? Those who were merciful on the battlefield were probably already buried with weeds. These people were just some small fries. With Feng Hao's strength, it was easy for him to kill them. It didn't take long for Feng Hao to finish off all of the Qin state soldiers. These people followed the skeleton general to attack Demon Dragon City, killing the dragon cult disciples. As for Ling Xiao, he was the dragon cult's young sect master. He did not feel that there was anything wrong with killing all of them. What a pity. This Feng Hao wanted to be a traitor when he was alive. Now that he is dead, he is obedient, Mu Qing lamented. "Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go back to Demon Dragon City." Ling Xiao tossed out the Demon Dragon sword. Then he jumped onto the broadsword and got Qianwan and Mu Qing to sit on it as well. "Go." At Xiao Chen's command, the Demon Dragon sword sped towards Demon Dragon City. Indeed, Demon Dragon City had fallen. The flames of war and slaughter were everywhere. After the Chun Nation's soldiers entered Demon Dragon City, they did not care whether the people living in the city were from the dragon cult or not. They only pursued one goal: kill them all. The poor civilians who did not believe in Qinbai but believed that the Qin Nation's army could protect them all died tragically under the Qin Nation soldiers' butcher knives. However, the poor civilians were detestable. Qinbai had protected them for so many years. However, when the city fell, they chose to believe in the Qin Nation. If he died, it would serve him right. There were also some martial artists who came to Demon Dragon City to play. They had no grudges with the dragon cult or the Qin Nation's royal family. However, they were still treated as enemies. The reason for the Sky Thunder Legion's commander, the Fire Beacon General, was that he was worried that the dragon cult's monsters would sneak in. Therefore, he would rather kill the wrong people than let them go. At this moment, the outside of the demon palace was also very lively. 6 of the Sky Thunder Legions, 7 generals were there. The 12th prince and the 11th prince were also there. Domineering Blade, Ghostly, was also there. He finally revealed his ferocious teeth and chose to betray the dragon cult. Behind them was a dense army. In front of them were Qin Bai, Xiao Jin, and Xiao Muyu. Those who were not strong enough hid in the demon palace for now. Inside the demon palace, many pairs of eyes stared outside. It's too scary. The Chun Nation strength has increased greatly through this national recruitment. I heard that there are more than 100 martial artists at the first revolution of the Yin-Yang realm and the 12th level of hell. Our dragon cult really can't compare. The hearts of these people trembled slightly. Don't be afraid. With the sect master here, there's nothing to worry about. The only thing they could hope for was that Qin Bai, Xiao Muyu, and Xiao Jin would not be defeated. Otherwise, this demon palace would instantly turn into ruins, and none of them would be able to block that terrifying attack. Surrender, sect master. The Thunder Emperor has ordered that as long as you are willing to surrender, you will still be a noble of the Qin Nation. You will still enjoy glory and wealth. Your stubborn resistance is meaningless. I know how strong you are, but you are definitely not a match for all of us combined. Domineering Blade, Ghostly said coldly. Domineering Blade, Ghostly said coldly. Qin Bai stood there, dressed in black robes and surrounded by dense demonic qi. Perhaps it was only at this moment that he looked more like a demon sect master, filled with a domineering aura. Even if demonic Dragon City was broken, even if he was forced to the demon palace, he still did not panic in the slightest. Those cold eyes and the powerful demonic aura still made people wary. Domineering Blade, Ghostly did not want to fight head-on because Qin Bai was strong. If they fought head-on, even if they won, they would have to pay a heavy price. To them, it was not worth it. Cut the crap. Just attack. If I, Qin Bai, frown, I am not the dragon cult sect master. Qin Bai looked at Domineering Blade, Ghostly, mockingly, and said, When my disciple retrieves the demon dragon sword, all of you will die. Haha. Sect master, oh sect master, your expectations for that brat are a little too high. To tell you the truth, everyone in the Dark Dragon group has already ambushed him midway. Even if they can't kill him, there are still Vice Sect Master Yin, Clan Leader Yamada, the leader of the Dark Dragon group, and Shuizhan on Demonic Dragon Mountain. Do you think he can still come back alive? Chapter 2845. He will come back alive. Qin Bai's trust in Ling Xiao had become unbreakable ever since Ling Xiao had caused a ruckus at the Phoenix in the Cloud residence. He did not believe that anyone could kill Ling Xiao, unless it was a terrifying existence that could make it impossible for Ling Xiao to escape. However, there was no such person in the state of Qin. Thus he was not worried. Tyrannical Blade Ghostly frowned, clearly not expecting Qin Bai's reaction. He had said so much purely because he feared Qin Bai's strength and wanted to use Ling Xiao to disturb Qin Bai's mind. Of course, his other goal was to use this occasion to tell everyone that anyone who dared to disobey the Chun royal family would die. This time, the Sky Thunder Legions, 7 generals, had all come out. The 2 princes who had been cultivating outside had returned to lead the team. These 9 people were all experts at the Yin-Yang realm's 12th level of hell. Together with Ghostly, there were 10 of them. Such a terrifying lineup was nothing more than an attempt to break down the dragon cult's resistance. Ghostly, don't waste words. Since this old thing doesn't know what's good for him, just kill him. An expert from the Chun royal family said coldly. He was the Sky Thunder Legion's 6th general, and his cultivation had already broken through to the peak of the 12th level of hell. He knew that Qin Bai was also at this level. Thus, he was absolutely confident that he could kill Qin Bai. He did not want Ghostly to waste any more time. Ghostly silently cursed, idiot. He was well aware of Qin Bai's strength. Underestimating Qinbai would not end well. Although these reclusive experts were powerful, their horizons were too narrow. Qinbai coldly looked at the sixth general, a mocking smile on his lips. If you want to attack, go ahead. I guarantee that you won't live to see tomorrow's sun. Contempt. That's right. Qinbai's expression was filled with merciless contempt. You're courting death. The sixth general's expression was extremely ugly. This Qinbai was already at death's door, yet he still dared to look down on him. This was unacceptable to him. Boom! A murderous aura filled the air. The sixth general walked out of the crowd and pushed tyrannical blade ghostly away. He wanted to kill Qinbai and end this boring confrontation. I don't need to kill you. Little Gold, you do it. Qinbai was the strongest of the three, so he had to keep an eye on the first general, the second general, and the two princes. As for the others, Xiao Jin and Xiao Mu were enough. All right. Xiao Jin flapped his wings and flew to Qinbai. F***CK, are you looking down on me? They actually sent a demonic beast to fight with me? The sixth general was very unhappy. Look down on you? If you can block one of his attacks, then come and fight me. Qinbai sneered disdainfully. All right, if that's the case, then I'll kill him first, then I'll kill you. The sixth general looked at Xiao Jin and casually waved his hand. Evil creature, come on, don't waste time. Xiao Jin knew that the sixth general looked down on him, but this was good. He did not transform into his golden crow form. Instead, he maintained his palm-sized bird and flew toward the sixth general. Only when his opponent completely underestimated him could he really kill him with one attack. He flew very slowly, as if he had no strength. The power in his body was quickly gathering, ready to explode at the critical moment. Get lost if you're scared. With your tortoise-like speed, do you think you can touch me? Ridiculous. The sixth general was very unhappy. He wanted to kill Xiao Jin as soon as possible, so he took the initiative to attack. But he looked down on Xiao Jin too much, so he just casually threw out a palm. As far as he was concerned, this palm strike could easily kill Xiao Jin. He could feel the power released from Xiao Jin's body. A loud laugh burst out from his mouth. Evil creature, with your little strength, don't mention killing this general. You can't even do anything to an ordinary martial artist of the 11th level of hell. But the next moment, the laughter came to an abrupt end. The sixth general suddenly felt a terrifying temperature that could completely melt his soul. Hot, blazing. It was so hot that his divine sense became unclear. At that moment, he knew that he had underestimated his opponent. He hurriedly circulated his internal energy in an attempt to counterattack, but the time was too short. How could he deal with Xiao Jin's attack that was ready to be launched? The energy that he had just circulated was instantly eliminated by the terrifying heat. Save me! He roared in horror and turned to flee. At the same time, he shouted at his men. This guy looked very fierce, but his courage was smaller than the eye of a needle. Can you escape? Xiao Jin spoke in human language, and his body suddenly became huge. The entire space was enveloped by a golden light. The heat increased exponentially. In just a moment, the stone slabs on the ground were burned to ashes. Kill! Xiao Jin roared. The golden light wrapped around the sixth general like a molten iron ball. The sixth general could clearly feel that his body was melting, just like a candle. Stop! Domineering Blade, Ghostly, who was standing at the side, naturally could not watch the sixth general be burned alive. The death of the sixth general was nothing. The problem was that once the sixth general died, the morale of the Chen nation's army would plummet. The remaining members of the dragon cult, who were already in fear and trepidation, would have their morale greatly boosted. At that time, it would not be good. As he roared, he took out his blade and slashed at Xiao Jin. The ferocious blade energy seemed to want to split Xiao Jin in half. This is not a place for you to behave atrociously. A clear female voice rang out. Xiao Mu suddenly attacked. A long sword that looked like it was condensed from ice crystals pierced out. A cold aura wrapped around Domineering Blade, Ghost Li's body. What? Domineering Blade, Ghost Li did not expect Xiaomuyu, who had not shown her strength, to be so powerful. If he slashed at Xiaojin, then he would die. This was not a good deal. He had no choice but to use the blade that was aimed at Xiaojin to block Xiaomuyu's attack. Boom! A huge explosion occurred in the space. Domineering Blade Ghost Li's body was pushed back dozens of steps, while Xiaomuyu only took 3 or 4 steps back. The difference between taking the initiative to attack and passively defending was quite big. Ah! A shrill scream came from the fiery golden light. This was the last sound that the 6th general left in this world. His entire body was melted by the fiery golden light and turned into blood-red steam. The 6th general was dead. He was killed by the demonic beast that he looked down on, and it only took one move. Xiaojin had displayed his powerful combat strength. At the same time, he had intimidated all of his enemies. Ling Xiao had once told him not to reveal his true strength unless it was absolutely necessary.